The following interview is rated 17 plus by the Tentomon Authority of Hating Agumon.
Hello there, YouTube. I am Wheelchair21, editor-in-chief, founder of HeroClub.com, along with my other co-founder, SoundOut12. Obviously, we have a new interview for you guys. You already know this interview. We've promoted this one actually on live streams, which is, a first for us. We don't usually tell people who our next guest is. It's usually a huge surprise for people to guess who and then be surprised then, but it's none other than, as he calls himself in his movie Famous, the Steven Spielberg of Anime, Jeff Nimoy.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, we were surprised we were going to get you as quick as we did, because I remember years ago, one of my goals I said to Sound Out, I think, back in one of our earlier blog podcast formats, I said, I'd really love to talk to, Jeff Nimoy or any of the Digimon guys. And, that was, 10 years ago, Sound Out?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
you interviewed Tom Fahn, who's one of my best friends. He's more like a brother than a friend to me. So he, got on the phone with me right away and said, "You've got to do this podcast. Have these guys talk to you. They know more about you than you know about you." So I'm looking forward to it.
I got to say, I at least know everything, I think, from Digimon onwards. I tend to forget. I know. No, when you did Famous, I was like, he's not bringing up any other show except this one and that one. So I kind of feel like that is what it's like. It's like when you get certain roles or you work on certain productions, it's only that one. Because when I looked at the other anime, I'm like, I've seen this. I've wanted to watch that.
I also didn't want to overwhelm the audience because not everyone who's going to watch Famous, it's a romantic comedy at its base. Mm-hmm. So I didn't want, it's not really an anime movie. You don't have to know about anime.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to overwhelm people who didn't know about anime, and I did Naruto and Bleach and blah, blah, blah. I just wanted to stick to Digimon and Trigun. These people can follow that, Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, that makes a lot of sense because those are probably the best well-known ones for our generation, followed by most likely Naruto. Although, like you said, you mostly worked in a production role rather than a main character.
Yeah, no voiceover. And I did one Hotage number 4 or something crazy like that. You jump in the booth when you're finally mixing it. You're like, oh, I forgot to get that character. And you just jump in the booth and you do one.
Yeah. No, what's funny too is like Tom told you, we usually know what goes on. For me, I always forget the fact that even you bring up as a joke or you even roll with it about how you've actually had an Emmy for working on NFL Presents or NFL Sports. So that part I always tend to forget, and I keep looking. I'm like, oh yeah, he has an Emmy.
Yeah. And as I joke at the very beginning of Famous, it was 1996. I've done nothing since 1996 with my life. That's the joke,
Well, at least one thing, you at least did it while we were born. We're not that young that, we're not that young that you didn't do it before we were born.
Well, that's saying something.
Exactly. It truly is. Because, I think the youngest person we have in our group of friends for our website and staff is 23? Brian's 25? Somewhere around there?
The sweatshirt's older than that friend right now.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, no, I'm glad that we got to do this interview with you because you just seem hilarious as all hell, not just from your comedy that you made, but panels. I love the fact that the Digimon Tri panel left in, and I don't even think they censored you. The who the F is Agumon? That one popped me so hard.
I know. They asked a loaded question, who's your favorite Digimon? And I'm like, Tentomon, of course.
Yeah.
Tentomon, who the fuck do you think is my favorite Digimon? And then the nerve of Colleen and Joshua to say 2 other Digimon. I'm like, fuck Agumon.
No, that's the thing I love. I love that panel. That was one of my favorite things. But we'll get into Digimon, obviously, into the interview. As per usual, when we do these interviews, we always like to ask our guests, how did you, in a sense, get, I guess, what was the inspiration for what got you into the entertainment industry? what was it, and when did you know it was this you wanted to do? I guess is the best way to put it.
Well, it was in high school. I was starring in like the play. Even back in like elementary school, I was always sort of the star of the play, and not only the star, but I wound up sort of, adding a lot to the production. I remember in 6th grade, we had to do this production. Every class had to do a play, and it had to do with something we were studying at the time, like American history, and we were doing Greek history at the time. And I said, let's do a play called Grease, because the movie Grease was out with John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John. I said, but let's call it Grease, spelled like the country Grease, but we'll do it like it's the 1950s and we're gangs against each other. So even back then, I was sort of always already producing and writing and coming up with ideas. And it was just something that naturally came to me. And that went all the way throughout high school. And I still didn't think I was going to go for it, so to speak. But this one guidance counselor at Canarsie High School in Brooklyn said to me, I was 17, and she said, I heard you are not going to pursue acting as a profession. I was like, it's such a long shot. I have good grades. I'm going to be a dentist or a pharmacist or something. And she said to me, I'll never forget it, you cannot deny the world your talents. And at 17, that will really screw with your head. You're like, you're absolutely right. I can't deny the world my talents. I thought LA was dying to get me when I got here, and I went to NYU, to School of the Arts to study acting. And I came out to LA like I was going to be the next Michael J. Fox, the next De Niro. I thought, they can't wait for me to get there. And I didn't work for 8 years. The reality hit me so hard, of every kid who was the best in their high school play is out here in LA. Everyone, I am literally a dime a dozen out here. Yeah. And after my 5-year plan of acting was up, I said, well, is acting the be end all end for me? Like, I always wanted to write. I always wanted to direct and produce. Acting was almost like the last thing I wanted to do out of all of those things. So I said, you know what? I'm going to take away the 5-year plan. I'm just going to be in show business. And I'm not going to take another job unless it's in show business. I don't care what direction it leads me to. Forget acting. I just want to be in. I don't care if I'm getting coffee for the guy who gets coffee, for the guy who gets coffee. And I wound up being homeless. But, I stuck to my guns. I would not take a job. I quit my bartending job. And I was living out of my car, showering at friends' houses. And I was doing an improv comedy show on the weekends where I was doing a bunch of impersonations in the show. And a casting director happened to see me, a voiceover casting director. And she said, we're doing a cartoon right now. It was called Mutant League, based on a video game. We're doing a cartoon right now. We need like a sort of like guy who plays a lot of voices. And I got that job, and that was really the first step in me building a career in show business. And that was 93, and I have not had to bartend since. It's getting close though.
That's funny because I don't remember Mutant League. Sound out to you?
Hold on. I'm just gonna Google it. I was gonna be like, I remember Mutant League. I heard it. I haven't.
I think I've heard of the game, but not the.
The main character I played was Razor Kid. And through that, I met Doug Stone, who's done a bunch of anime. And Doug introduced me to Saban Entertainment. And they started hiring me for some minor voices. And then I got the NFL Films gig where I pitched NFL Films an idea. And they made me a producer on one of their TV shows called NFL Films Presents. And that's what I won the Emmy Award for. And then I went back to Fox Kids. Well, I mean, Saban Entertainment / Fox Kids. They were all sort of one thing at the time.
Yeah.
And I pitched them another idea, and taking old like anime cartoons that they had, taking away all the sound and making a new comedy TV show out of it. And we started doing that called Chimp Lips Theater. all 2 episodes of Chimp Lips Theater. And that was the thing I kid around with Lex Lang in the movie about it. He was the first actor I actually hired. That conversation I'm having with him was real in the sense that he's the first actor I hired to do an Arnold Schwarzenegger voice for that series. And then that show didn't go. It only went 2 episodes. I did 2 more pilots for Saban and Fox Kids. And then they had this thing called Digimon, and the rest is sort of history. You know, they came to me first with Digimon. We turned Digimon down. And then we were out of work for a little while. We were like, maybe we should revisit that Digimon thing. And we went back after like episode 14. They had already done 14 or 16 episodes. And we came back to it, and they offered us to run the show after that. And we did. When I say we, I mean myself and Bob Buchholz, who was my partner at the time, and who I also did improv with the X-Men people.
Okay. No, because what's funny is what you were bringing up there is about some of the cartoons you did. Because when I had met Dan Warren, he was telling me that there were a lot of pilots that Saban had that maybe went like a season or 2 or aired in other countries, but like in America, they're like lost media per se. Because they just never got out there, because there was something like called like Monster Farm, and I can't find anything on it.
I know. I had the office next door to the guy who produced Monster Farm.
Yeah. Okay, because that's the funny part is Dan Warren was telling me this story about this show he was in, and I'm like, I've never heard this show before, and I've seen like almost all of Fox Kids, so I don't know what the heck he was talking about.
I just want to give, you mentioned him, Dan. I just want to give a shout out. One of the best dubbers there are. I mean, in terms of lip syncing your lips, he just sees it and he miraculously nails it every time. He's an amazing talent.
Yeah, I've been trying to get him to do an interview since I met him.
Yeah, good
guy. No, he's great. He probably gave me one of the best fangasms ever IRL, because he's talking to me and he's talking in his normal voice. And he's just talking, and so he sounds like, you know, what his actual age and look should be like for a man his age. He's just like, yeah, so I do this and that. And then he's like progressively going, and now this is how I talk when I'm doing Robotech. And then he's just like, and then I go, Zenbon. And like, he didn't even like change. He didn't adjust himself. He just went right into Zenbon Zakura Kagayoshi as Byakuya, and then held the Byakuya voice for like a whole nother minute talking to me. And I'm just like,
I can't tell you how many people at conventions say to me, God, you sound just like Wolfwood. I'm like, yeah, no shit, I sound like Wolfwood.
Yeah, no, it was wild, though, because like with Dad, he didn't sound like, you know, as deep as, so when he went into that voice, I was just like, wow, you are a magician, sir. And then when I met like other actors, I can hear their normal voice, because like I met Kirk Thornton and I hear Anna Volgato from Gundam. Mm-hmm. I meet Peter St. Paul, and I hear the very early takes of his Leomon voice, where it was more like, it kind of sounded like what's his face who voiced Chef when he would voice Leomon, when he'd say hello children, like if like I don't know why, but it always made me think of Chef. Children. But yeah, no, it was just shocking to hear like, you know, voices and that, because like you, I know, sound like Wolf. That's your natural voice. I know like Steve Kramer's natural voice is Karaku, stuff like that. But yeah, like you said, you've done so many shows that either made air or didn't make air. Because I was looking and like some credits are there, but I can't find video of it.
Yeah, it's tough. Eagle Riders, another show out there. Laser Tag. There's so many out there. Cinderella.
Which Cinderella?
Was it about Cinderella?
Was it okay? Because I was gonna say, was it the Tatsunoko anime?
Maybe.
Okay.
You know, we don't really know. We're actors who show up for a job, you know. Dan Warren, in fact, the other year, called me a couple of years ago and said, hey, do you know who I played in Trigun? I can't remember.
Yeah, no, it's funny because I know some people in the production company side, they know like what studio did what. So like whenever I talk to like, say, Kramer, Steve Kramer knows that I know the old like studios that they got a lot of their like they'd be like, oh, we acquired this from this studio for the Grimm's fairy tales and stuff like that. Right. But other actors sometimes like you just had where it's like, I just dubbed it, man. They just handed it to me.
I came after Kramer, after Fahn, after Michael Surich, who's of course one of the major players, after Richard Epcar, because I came from the Fox Kids original side. Not the animation side, not the anime side. You know, I repurposed the anime stuff. And then once, you know, at that point, we all knew each other. So, hey, you've got a good voice. Let me cast you. I love you. Let me cast you. You know, luckily we were all a bunch of directors as well. Kramer, myself, Sorich, Epcar. We've all hired each other, you know, for a bunch of other things. Kirk. I'm still waiting for Kirk to hire me after I put like tens of thousands of dollars in this pocket.
That's a good one.
Just waiting for that call.
Waiting for that call.
I played softball with Kirk too.
So this is another question, since you brought up like, you know, NFL films and stuff like that. So when it comes to the Emmy, you've won it at least once or twice, and you were not nominated, I think, 4 years or 3 years.
I won it once. I was nominated 3 times in 4 years.
Yeah. What is it like though to have the first obvious when you're first nominated? What's that like? And then like what's like when you start seeing it consecutively though?
It doesn't suck. I'll tell you that much. You know, there's just the excitement is incredible, and then you go to the award show, and I was looking at my hands like while they were announcing the winner, and I'm like, my hands were uncontrollably shaking. You know, and then when I won, and I was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. You know. So, you know, it was great. It was just amazing. And then we should have been nominated and won 2 years in a row, but they decided to pull us off the show and make one of those Sports Illustrated videos that you guys are probably too young to remember, but they used to have these Follies videos, NFL Follies, and that you get free with a subscription to Sports Illustrated.
I remember those. I always had those ads on my tapes for, I want to say, whenever I recorded something from Sci-Fi Channel, that was always on there, or USA.
So they had us move over there, and the show won a second year in a row when we were there. And we were not eligible because we were on the home video supply at that time. Then they brought us back to the show. We were nominated 2 more times, but didn't win. So I should have 2 Emmys right now, but hey, once you win the first one, nobody cares about the second one. It's all right.
That's kind of true. I've heard once you got one.
Like once you got the one award, it opens as many doors as it's going to open.
Right. They'll always say Emmy winner Jeff Nimoy. You don't have to say 2-time Emmy. You know, you'll get the meeting with 1 Emmy.
Just helps open that door further.
It does, because, you know, when you're looking for a meeting after that, and you start with I am Emmy winner Jeff Nimoy, then right away it just adds a little credibility to you, and they'll take the meeting usually. You know, it won't guarantee success, but it guarantees you more meetings. It's a tough town.
Understandable. Sound Out be telling me about just he worked as a lighting and sound guy in the industry, and they said, oh, we can't have you at like low tier jobs just because he worked on Creed, on what was it, the second Creed
I worked
film?
On Creed 2, and then the next job that called was like, they called me and they're like, well, you're the next one on the list for the job, but we can't afford you. You worked on like a big movie. And I could not tell them fast enough before they hung up. No, I can go cheap. It's okay.
Which is exactly what I do in Famous. My character does that in Famous. He's like, we're looking for a guy. You're too senior for this. I'm like, I'll take it. Yeah. Whatever it is, I'll take it.
When I watched that scene, I was like, I've lived this.
He paused it. He had to pause it. He just had to pause. We were watching it together, and he pauses the film, and he's like, I just need to vent right now because I've been there. And then Sandout's like, I've never told you this story. Yeah. And I'm like, this is the 4th time you told me this story. He's like, what?
That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. It was funny, too, because I think I was the only person at the time before his NDA ran out where he straight up called me from set the day Stallone was sitting down and talking with like the last 2 days of set. He would sit down and talk with everybody there from each part of the production, thanking them for being there. telling them advice, what they could do to fix their resumes and stuff like that. And so Sandout got this photo with him, and Stallone even said, "Yo, you could put this up on the internet, like after the NDA's up, but don't tell anyone like I was this, this crazy and nice. You tell the stories later." But Sandout's just like, "I gotta tell my one friend why." He's like, "Don't tell me, he's a huge fan." "Yeah, but you won't expect it. He's like a Rocky fan, right?" And Sandout's like, "No, Tango and Cash." And and Stallone like almost did a spit take when he says Tango and Cash.
I'm a big fan of Over the Top. What?
Yes. Oh my God. My friend loves that movie. My friend Jerry loves that movie, and he loves the Dexter's Lab episode that spoofed it.
Quentin Flynn and I used to do a tour together, and he would do this over the top thing. It was hysterically funny. Over the top.
That's amazing. But something I want to talk about when we go into the Digimon side, since you answered quite a lot of the questions that we'd written down about just getting there.
Digimon. Okay, Digimon, I'm ready.
Yeah. So
Tentamon!
I was reading your blog, and like you said, you guys passed over and went over. At one point, you said Wendy Lee was working on the audition side, and she wanted you to be...
She was the original director. She directed the first more than a few episodes.
Because it says she wanted you to be Matt. She was really like positioning you to be like,
sorry.
Okay.
It was Terry O'Malley.
Okay, I might have missed.
Became producer. Okay. She wanted me to be Matt. I don't know if Wendy had an opinion one way or another.
Okay, because I was trying to read the blog and I was trying to put I might have I was skimming through and
trying
to put the timeline together.
Wendy called me in for the audition.
Okay.
And we used to work together quite a bit. We'd hire each other quite a bit back in the day. And I don't know if you ever saw the movie Run Lola Run.
I know of it, just never got to watch it.
It's a German film, but Bob and I dubbed it into English, and we hired Wendy as Lola. So Wendy and I worked with each other quite a bit, and she called me into the audition, and Terry wanted me to be Matt. Terry at that time was called Development Coordinator, I think, and Rita Acosta Majcut was the producer. And then Wendy was very busy at the time. She had a lot of gigs. So Michael Storich used to fill in for her. Richard Epgar used to fill in for her. An engineer named David Walsh used to fill in for her. There were a lot of different hands in Digimon at the beginning. And then Wendy went on her honeymoon. And Storich was supposed to fill in for her, but he was double booked on Flint, the Time Detective, I believe. And Rita called me in a panic, she produced my Chimp Lips Theaters series, and she called me and said, you live 3 minutes from the studio. Could you fill in for Storich today and tomorrow? And I said, yes. So I scooted over there, and Terry was there. Terry, who used to work for me when I was at Fox Kids. So it was a very sort of like weird, sort of perfect storm for what was about to happen. So Terry wanted to become a producer in the worst way, but she settled for this developmental manager project, title. And so while I was directing, Rita got a promotion, and Terry got made producer. This is just in these 2 days I was directing. And Terry got a promotion. And Terry and I, like I said, she used to work for me. And she said the one thing she wanted was one voice, because, like I said, there was Wendy, Serge, Epgar, David Walsh, 4 directors in the first 20 episodes. That's a lot of voices for one series, And she felt very comfortable with me because she knew me. And she offered me and Bob to run the show on that Friday. After it all happened that Friday. It was a Thursday, Friday. It all happened then. And Monday morning I started, and I was the new Digimon showrunner. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, because when I was reading it, it seemed very chaotic trying to piece it all together. Because, like I said, you were brought in for auditions. You were, in a sense, turned away at first. Then they said, okay, Josh is doing too many voices and they all are blurring together.
So I came in, Toonami and Izzy's dad. It was just, it wasn't thought out. It was just like, Also, they didn't have the scripts like far in advance back then either. It wasn't like they knew what was happening in episode 50 when they got episode 2, you know?
Because it was
Like,
still airing
Izzy's
at the
dad,
time.
he's got one line. They had no idea if
Yeah.
Izzy's dad was going to be a major player or not. Just, all right, give it to, who's in today? Tentomon? Give him one line as Izzy's dad too, you know what I mean? That's how Dorothy Fahn got Ty's mom, It wasn't like a well thought out thing. She was in doing Lilymon, and Ty's mom had one episode. Then the movie comes around, and all right, you're Ty's mom,
Yeah. I noticed the air dates are insanely close between the Japanese and the English airing. It's like, right. And I think from a production side, it's like that came together really quick.
It did. And those were in those early days. Now, why I like to say Digimon Sabers was the favorite project of mine, Digimon-wise, that I ever worked on, was because I got to watch the whole series before I ever wrote episode 1 in English for American and English-speaking broadcast. And so I was able to really think out a well-formulated plan for how I wanted this to go,
It's funny you bring up Sabers being one of your productions that you loved working on, because me and Sandout, that's like probably our favorite installment in the franchise. Like that is
it definitely is, I think. It's the one we talk about the most.
But it wasn't Sabers in America, it was Digimon Data Squad.
Data Squad,
yeah. Like that is our favorite.
It's one of those things where we got introduced to it through Data Squad, and then we watched Sabers later. Because
for me, I like both sub and dub. That's one of my favorite ones. I like sub and dub. 002 or season 2 is probably one of my favorites that I love sub and dubbed. Tamers is probably one of the ones where like I wish I could merge like both sides of the show together for a perfect show, because the censorship that had to go into the English side fixed issues I had with the Japanese side and vice versa. Because I
really like the English version of Digimon Frontier because of the necessity of broadcast standards. Took out a lot of the creepy elements that happened in the Japanese version. Because it's like, there's a lot of stuff that happens to Zoe.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, she's an underage girl. And there's a lot of like, they sexualize her in the Japanese version a little too much. But then the English version cuts all that out because it has to. And it makes it for like it's a much better experience watching it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, we'll obviously talk more about censorship and whatnot in the show in a couple of minutes, though. But Snada, take the next question when it comes to like the scripts and stuff.
So in terms of scripting and going from Japanese to English, what was the process like? Like, I imagine there's several people involved, but step us through it. Step us through the process of the two of you that doing it.
Well, again, this is how Bob and I got into it. Bob and I used to do improv comedy. And one of the things we did was we would take a movie and we would sit in a movie theater, have this movie play, and we would have a keyboard. There'd be no sound in the movie. A keyboard player would be playing all the music and little sound effects. And Bob, myself, and the cast would sit there with microphones looking up at the screen. And we would, parts of it were improvised. We wrote most of it. We wrote, I would say 90 to 95% of it, left some room for improv, that was also planned to leave room for improv, And so we had a lot of experience dubbing to repurpose to become new content, right? In fact, Bob was part of a TV show. I joined that cast that was called Mad Movies. So I joined that Mad Movies cast a little later on. I was pretty much the last member to join that cast. When NFL Films saw my Mad Movies demo tape, right? That's what I did with NFL Films. I would take away all the sound and I would put words in the players' mouths and have them say completely new comedy vignettes. And then Fox Kids saw that. I was actually doing a pilot with Wayne Brady, on-camera pilot at Fox Kids. The pilot didn't go, but they saw my demo and they said, hey, we have all this anime here. Could you repurpose it and make it into a new comedy show? And I said, absolutely. And we took a meeting with Bob and, Fox Kids. And that was what I said before, Chimp Lips Theater. And that led directly to Digimon because they wanted something a little more, they wanted it punchier than a straight translation. Don't just take the translation from Japanese and put it into English. They wanted the jokes punched up. They wanted it Americanized a little bit, They wanted the characters elevated for an American audience. They wanted a traditional Saturday morning cartoon, to compete with the Rugrats and at the time Pokemon. Those were our two big enemies. So Bob and I had all this experience. So Bob and I, at that point, you put in your 10,000 hours. We just watched something and then we go, okay, let's watch it again. And we start thinking of physically, what are they doing, And if they have a big marshmallow, like, doesn't that look like it could be a roll of toilet paper. I mean, it's an animated marshmallow. Let's make it a roll of toilet paper. So instead of bringing a marshmallow along, we can have Joe say, and I brought toilet paper along just in case, never be without, and we can shape their personalities a little more that way, We loved writing for Joe, Michael, the late, great Michael Lindsay, and things like that, So we would just watch things over and over again, and we would see, like, forget what that is. What does it look like to us, And then we would also have to be careful story-wise, though, because like I said, we don't want to box ourselves into a new story. If episode 50, like, how are we getting out of this story that we boxed ourselves into? We have to keep the story pretty much the story, just in case, But the jokes and the characters, we can do whatever we want with.
Yeah, something I was going to say is it reminds me of there was like one of the early Saban dubs was Samurai Pizza Cats,
Mm-hmm.
which apparently they had no audio for when they got the show, and so it was just all written off the fly like that. And then that they kind of ran into story problems because they weren't sure what the story was when they were working with it. So it's kind of good that on Digimon you had like the idea of like, well, don't adjust the story too much, but just try to keep it to character.
But we still ran into problems. Like when Gatomon made her first appearance, we thought it was a he because it looked like it was a he, and it looked like he was hitting on a girl, and we wrote it as a he. We cast it as a he, and then like Gatomon's third episode, I got it, and the translation seemed like it was a she, pretty convincingly. I was like, we got to recast this, and don't let it air. Let's pull those off and rewrite it and record it real quick. It
sounds like a really quick turnaround for that. Yeah.
So this is a quick question though. How did you get who would do the scripts? Like, did Toei have already somebody with like footnotes for you guys, or did you have to have a guy in house to tell you what was the story?
Give us the straight translation. Back then there was no Google Translate. You had to actually hire someone who spoke Japanese to write it up. And then Bob and I would just look at that as a reference. It wouldn't matter to us because we're not trying to match the translation, as long as we get the information out, Yeah,
because we've heard stories about how some studios do have translators in-house to do it, or they would just be like, here's your footnotes. These are the summaries of each of the episodes.
Well, this is before, like, Bang Zoom. This is before Funimation. This is before Viz Media. This is the OG, Saban. Yeah. So this is how Bob and I did it. I can't speak for other writing teams and everything. I think they just matched the translation into English as best they could. But for Bob and I, it was more about comedy, And
adding to that, was there any improv moments in the Digimon dub where some things changed kind of as the recording happened?
Yeah, quite a bit. Things happen, and actors like to break it up a little bit. Steve Bloom loves to improvise a bad take. Just because you're just having fun. It's not rocket science what we're doing. We're making cartoons. Let's have fun. And Steve gets it. So he'll do something, and I'm like, how do we make that work? How do we put that in there? And I remember on Digimon Data Squad, Quentin had the idea because one of his characters in, I think, Kingdom Hearts says got it memorized. I don't know if it was Kingdom Hearts or some other thing he was a part of, right? But got it memorized, and his character went like this. I remember I have a scar right here to show when I was a kid. And Quentin was like, "You got to change that to got it memorized." I'm like, "Of course we do. You're right. We do."
That has to be Axel.
And Crispin Freeman also. The end of Digimon Data Squad when he's saying goodbye to his Digimon. It was supposed to be this really, two very tight with their emotion characters, him and his Digimon, played by Skip Stelrick. They were like, well, I guess this is goodbye, sir. And he was, and the Digimon says to him, "But I love you, sir." And Crispin's character says, Thomas says, "I love you too." And Crispin improvised, "I know," like Han Solo in Empire Strikes Back. We tried to make that work so bad. We really tried to fit it into the lip flaps. He just said too many lip flaps for "I know." But we tried, so it was so brilliant. What a great, improvisation,
Yeah, no, that's funny because our friend who wrote the question when we had it on staff, he was like, "Yo, I need to know what are like the best improv moments that never made air or did make air."
That's the best one, I think, Crispin's.
That's a really good one.
That is perfect. That fits.
Love you, sir. I know.
That fits so well. Knowing him, he's gonna try to sneak that one into Pokemon now, just because he's in the current Pokemon dub. He's probably already sitting there going, "Jeff stopped me, but Pokemon won't."
No, he won't remember. He doesn't remember this stuff.
That's amazing. The urban legend or the fan misconception that we talked about already going into this interview is that when Digimon the movie was in production, we want to know, was the team aware of Diabloramon's revenge and fought for its inclusion or whatnot? Because like there are so many older forums and podcasts and interviews that I've heard that went off the rails.
Only knew the 3 movies.
Okay.
That's all we knew about. So, that's it. Diabloramon Revenge, I think, came 5 years later to me.
Yeah. When you guys eventually did it, it wasn't until after Digimon Frontier aired during the UPN 9/Disney dubs.
It's like the stories like Disney commissioned 4 movie dubs to promote Data Squad's like upcoming.
Right. So that's
yeah.
So 5 years after Digimon was done, Jamie Simone, who owns Studiopolis, came to me and said, "You're the Digimon guy, right?" I was directing like Zatch Bell and Naruto for him. And he said, "You're the Digimon guy, right?" I go, "Yeah, I'm the Digimon guy." He goes, "Good." Because I just got off the phone with Disney and I told them I got the Digimon guy. Because they were asking, who's the Digimon guy from Fox Kids? And so he showed me all the material and I said, "You know what? Let me do this one. And why don't you bring Mary Elizabeth McGlynn to do the other ones, because she did those Digimon seasons. And I would have to learn all about those seasons just to do this movie, And I frankly have no interest in learning about seasons 3 and 4. So let me just do Revenge of Diabloramon because it's, right down my wheelhouse. And the great thing is, Fox Kids, there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen at Fox Kids. Everyone had a set of notes for you. But on this, Disney didn't know anything about Digimon, and they didn't really care, to know anything. It wasn't.
I think they just only did it because they had the license. They were like,
it wasn't that they were putting it on. Like Fox Kids was in so many households, like Disney XD or wherever they were putting it on, Disney Channel. It wasn't in that many households, so it wasn't like they really cared that much about the quality of Digimon keeping its realness. So I really got to do like that dub the way I wanted to do it, like I was so criticized over the years for too many dumb jokes. You're squeezing too many jokes in. Well, it's because we got a lot of notes from Fox Kids saying, be funnier, add a joke here, be funnier. You're funnier than this. And we were like, we are? It took us a week to come up with that stupid joke.
Yeah, no, it's funny too, because the reason I wanted to ask this was because I've always heard the urban legend, because even as a kid growing up in the internet during those days, when the Digimon movie got announced, I already knew Diaboromon's Revenge existed due to people who were that in the know telling me it existed.
So it was very well received, and then right after that, right on the heels of that, Jamie came to me and said, "All right, we've got Digimon Data Squad," and I was getting overwhelmed with work. I was writing and directing Zatch Bell. Then I was going to write and direct this, Digimon Data Squad, and I was directing Naruto. And I said, you know what? I'm really not that into Naruto, because Viz Media was one of those companies that wanted you to follow the script, the translation, as close as possible. That's really not where my strength lies. My strength lies making new stuff out of, old stuff, not repeating what they were doing. And Mary Elizabeth was a bigger anime fan than I was in general, It was more right up her alley. And because I had brought her into Studiopolis as a director on the Digimon movies, Jamie was comfortable with her taking over Naruto from me. Stupid business decision. Naruto ran 11 years. Digimon Data Squad went 50 episodes, and then I was, out. But I didn't want anyone to do Digimon without me. I never wanted anyone to do Digimon without me in the first place. But we had just too many creative differences at that time for me to continue as the showrunner on Digimon after season 2. So we begrudgingly went our separate ways after season 2. So now that Digimon is back in my life, I'm like, this is, it's my show. I want to continue with it. And so I just quit everything else and poured my heart into Digimon Data Squad.
And it shows. It feels very natural. I love Data Squad. It's still really good.
Much.
It feels like it. Data Squad, I always say, is what is like Tamer's done right for me. So it's like, it's not 100% like, some people are gonna say, oh, Tamer's is better than Data Squad and Sabers, but I'm like, I like that it was still grim dark, but it had like the slap. I like the comedy. I really do enjoy the more lightheartedness of the Digimon.
The hardest part of Digimon Data Squad was telling Tom Fahn, who I told you is like a brother to me, that he can't play Agumon.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet.
Because I saw it as a different Agumon.
It is.
Completely different character. I didn't think that voice would have fit. I just didn't.
Yeah.
And whatever Brian Beacock was doing, spurred me on,
Like, you can tell immediately.
He has the Japanese version, by the way.
He has gloves on. His Agumon has gloves on.
He's got gloves. He's bigger. He's a little, like, feistier. Yeah.
He's not as cute. He's more feisty.
Yeah.
He's more,
Yeah, but, I think it was a smart choice having a different actor in that role, because the character is so different.
Yeah.
And I think it makes the show work, and it helps establish that it is a separate Agumon, that it's not like some weird sequel to Adventure.
I let Tom audition just because of respect.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
But I told him, right? I said, I'm really gonna go for Brian Beacock. Sorry.
It's really weird. He just didn't throw the voice to be more of like one of his other characters that he's done without the comedy. Like, he probably still could have done it if he just channeled his like Shofuku.
Sorry for Tom not to be funny, no matter what you do.
Exactly.
Yeah,
no, I know. Whatever. There's a lot in that interview where I'm just like, oh man, I'm trying not to laugh.
He's a machine. He's a machine.
Yeah. No. What's interesting too is, like you said, you guys were unaware about Diaboromon's Revenge when it was coming out, obviously. But what can you tell us the story about why Digimon Savers the movie wasn't brought over? Do you know anything about that? Because
it's the first time even hearing there was a Digimon Savers.
Okay.
That's the second time we've heard that connection. Yeah.
Okay, because the Savers movie, we've heard the reason they didn't bring it over was that allegedly it just wasn't financially received in Japan either. So they just said, screw it, they're not getting the movie. That's what
it
the
never
urban
even
legend we
came
were told.
across your radar, which means they didn't even bother licensing it. Probably.
Now I'm pissed off that there was a movie and I didn't get
There's a movie.
There's a movie. It is
like 40 minutes
35.
long.
It's like 35 minutes, and it's like a weird adventure because it's just the Digimon partners. All the human partners get locked up, and it's just Agumon, Gaomon, and Lalamon, like trying to save a princess.
And then it leads to like them breaking out their Digimon partners where they can burst Digivolve. Like it's a non-canon story.
It's like a non-canon thing. Like it has the burst evolution.
My story anyway. My story was kind of self-contained, you know.
Yeah.
I also did a lot of Easter eggs in that series, and that a lot of people. I wrote about it on With the Will, who I had a little relationship with it, earlier on. I wrote about it to show them this is what I was thinking. That the whole thing was a computer program set up by Izzy to save a digital, their digital world. But I had to solve the problem of like, well, why can Marcus fly? Why is his punch? What's so special about him that his punch is so special? And without saying it, I knew why, because he wasn't real. And then at the end, I'm like, if any fans want to know, this is what I'm thinking here. It's not important for you to know. But yet it turned out that Digimon Try was kind of like that same plot of Izzy trying to like come up with a computer program to save the digital world. And I'm like, I wonder if someone in Japan read my, blog about that or my posting about that.
What's so funny too is Savers is the first I think it's the first or second Digimon show after Tamers to introduce the aspect that the manga and the video games really worked on. Because in the video games from Digimon World that came out during the Tamagotchi era and stuff, Yggdrasil or whatever, or King Drazzle, as you shortened it to, he existed in the video game, so he was already in the expanded universe. And so, like, it was weird that finally, if you played those video games or you knew about the Japanese manga when watching, like, Tamers and your show, Savers, it was weird that those were the only two shows at the time that acknowledged the, I guess, Digimon multiverse. And then Cross Wars comes in, and then Cross Wars into Try is like, no, we got to make the original adventure timeline have Drazzle, they need to bring Yggdrasil in. And that was the weirdest thing for us, was because when we get to, obviously, Try, right. It's just so funny how their take on Try was so alternate reality that when you took over, you were like, I got to make sense of this bullshit.
Well, you see also at the end, it wasn't King Drazel, but I think that what King Drazel became, whatever the ultimate god of that universe was, I can't remember. It's been too many years and too many episodes of other shows. But I had Mona voice it specifically. And she said, what voice am I using? I'm like, it's Izzy. This is Izzy's voice. He's about 20 years old, and this is his voice. It's his character. It is him. So just play it like Izzy. And she was like, Jeff, that's why I love you. You're thinking on different levels. No one's thinking on levels like this, Jeff. So I love that, if anyone got it, great. If no one got it, oh well. You know what I mean?
All right, no, that makes a lot of sense, which also answered our 10th question about doing that pocket of in between Try and that, because like it's always interesting, because when we ask other actors, not just Digimon, but when it's like, what's it coming back to a show when it's not like the anniversary and it's not like the same continuity.
Was freaky because we were all sort of like, wow, can you believe we're doing Digimon again? Isn't this great? Paul St. Peter was the first one in, and it was just great. And for some strange reason, the original engineer, Kevin Newsom, who worked on the Fox at the Saban building, was filling in that day over at Studiopolis. He never worked at Studiopolis. And it was just like, oh my God, I got the same engineer, same actors, same writer, same director, like this is crazy, and we were all just shaking our heads, it was great. But little did we know we'd still be doing it. Like now, we're still doing it.
Mm. And I'm still hoping that Revenge of Diaboromon gets a home video release in the near future because it's never had one.
Oh
never
my
had a proper
God,
one. We've had the
I don't think I've
VHS
seen it
recordings.
since I recorded it.
Like one of my favorite things about you and I already forgot her name, Melissa, right? You said or
On?
No, the who was the one who did the other dubs? I can't think of her name all of a sudden. You said it.
Oh, Mary Elizabeth.
Mary Elizabeth. When you and Mary Elizabeth came back to do all of the shows for Tamers and Frontier and do those movies, the funniest thing was because you guys didn't have like the Saban music library, it was always funny watching those films and having season 4's opening credits instrumental just slapped in. Yeah. So I'm like, this song's fire. Now it's even more fire because it's in like the shows that everyone loves.
Another little Easter egg in Digimon Data Squad was I played the lead character's father because I'm sort of the father of Digimon, and I had Mary Elizabeth play the mother, sort of the mother. I guess Wendy would be the grandmother if that's the case, but Wendy was unavailable.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember because when like it keeps coming back to Sabers just because I think we're all like, yeah, this is the best one.
It's our favorite for many reasons, and I think that a lot of it helps with like you got. I think that's why I can never pick which version I like more because I think that like the dub is so good, and I think it's because you have that experience coming from the previous shows. It does have that kind of.
I love Brienne Sedal's performance as Keenan, and I love Joel Hockman's character of the professor, Keenan's dad. There are a lot of little subtle, great performances, and just I have personal memories of recording. Me and Richard Epcar. It took us 3 sessions to record his like 15 minutes on screen because we couldn't stop laughing. He's playing this gigantic thing with a wolf on his head.
Oh, Barukimon.
Yeah, and he's improvising like, stop looking at the wolf on my head. He's improvising left and right, and we were laughing so hard. I'm like, I don't care if I'm spending the production's budget on this. We're just having too good of a time.
It's great. It's just that show is like one of my favorites. I think it's just I think it came at a right time because like I was like so burnt out. I think in high school when that finally dropped, I was just like, oh sweet new Digimon. I was like,
yeah, I remember what happened. I was sad Digimon had been gone for a few years, and it's like there's a new show, and it kind of like sparked the energy again. Yeah,
I don't remember which specific year it came out offhand, but I just remember like high school was. Maybe I could have swore
it didn't do well though ratings wise.
Yeah, no, Disney.
Maybe that's the reason they didn't bring the movie over.
And I think also to this day it's the least seen season because Quentin and I went on tour to promote that show, and then I also did a little proof of concept shooting video of 2 actors at an anime convention, which. I pitched as an idea around town and it didn't go, but eventually, Famish is sort of like the germ of that idea come to life, of shooting something at an actual anime convention.
Yeah, because the issue with Disney at the time was this is the weird thing. They took Power Rangers as well as Digimon, and they were airing it like as primetime news shows on Mondays. But they would air it.
It was airing on Toon Disney exclusively.
Yeah, exclusively.
Which was a cable-only channel, so
there
it was.
Go. I thought sort it was
of buried
it.
Yeah, no, Toon Disney, Disney XD, Jetix. Like what they did was they put that and Power Rangers on, but they'd air it on prime time at 8 p.m. or 9 on Mondays. And a lot of kids I know at that time, if it's 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock, it's running up against Monday Night Raw. And a lot of boys, which are normally into Power Rangers and I also like wrestling.
You're reminding me of something off the subject, but you mentioned the Spielberg of Anime. When someone first called me that, it was because Saturday nights on Adult Swim, I had 3 shows on Cartoon Network. At I think 8 o'clock was Naruto, something like that. 8:30 was Bobobo, which I was writing on. And then I think at 9:30 was Zatch Bell. I had 3 shows in one night on Cartoon Network that I was working on as either a writer, director, or both. And someone was like, "Oh my God, you're like the Spielberg of anime over here," you know?
I want to circle to Bobobo. You were a writer on Bobobo?
Yeah, Michael.
You didn't know that?
I didn't know this.
I told you that when it came.
Showrunner.
Hmm.
And he wrote the pilot and brought me in to look at that pilot he did. And I thought it was one of the funniest things I had ever seen. And I'm like, this could be the funniest show on TV if you really have, like, you know, the reign to do it, you know, give you reign to just make it funny. And, you know, I wrote some funny episodes, you know, some classic episodes, but eventually they didn't really want to pay the money for the work we were doing. And, you know, I could have done it out of the joy of working, but, you know, when you're a professional, you know, you don't want to do a $3,000 job for $1,000. You just don't. You know, the jokes aren't going to be funny because you're bitter now. All of a sudden, you know, you're not being like on Stitch, for instance. I was getting paid very well for Stitch because it's a big franchise with a lot of money behind it. You know, Disney. So I think those turned out, you know, very well. You know, everyone was happy working on Stitch. They're all getting paid well. They're all doing their best work. No one feels like they're being, you know, taken advantage of. And on Bobo, I started to resent it. I'm like, I'm giving you my best stuff here, you know, and you're chinsing me over here. So, you know, people, the fans are like, you should have done it out of love. It's like,
There's no way to love.
Love only goes so far, but love doesn't pay the bills.
When you're a professional, it's a whole different world. Like Trigun, when they made the movie Badlands Rumble, you know, they wanted us to sort of do it for free. Basically, it would have cost us money to do those roles. And we're like, I mean, I love Wolfwood, but I don't want to pay to play Wolfwood. I've already played him and got paid to do him. I should have worth that you should, you know, and I'm not asking for a ton. I'm just not asking to pay you, you know. It wasn't paying them, but I would have had to fly in, put myself up on hotel rooms, you know. Like, it wouldn't have been worth it, you know what I mean? So
that makes a lot of sense because I've heard that story with certain actors. Well, they'll take time to do it for one role, but they won't do it for like every role.
Well, you know, if you're in a certain situation where you're trying to get a foot in the door, like Vic Mignogna was trying to get his foot in the door in Los Angeles, and I was directing Naruto. I met him at a convention, and he said, "I'll fly in to do a role." I said, "If you'll fly in, I'll cast you," right? And, you know, so I did, and he lost money on the deal, but, you know, what he made in convention appearances just from, you know, being on Naruto, I'm sure made up for it eventually, you know, but I was already Wolfwood. It wasn't like I needed to start to play Wolfwood, you know, it wasn't like I was going to be the new Spike or whatever, you know, breakout character, you know, I was already that guy. So why am I paying now to do it? You know, it was sort of that situation.
Yeah,
that's
also
understandable.
Also, what's funny too is how you mentioned I actually didn't know the story about Zatch Bell, that you weren't really keen on Zatch Bell. Me and Stand Out, we love Zatch Bell a lot. That's like another show we both.
Another show we watched, yeah.
I explained in my blog. It was more about where I was in my life at that point. That, you know, I was just a miserable bastard, probably, you know, and I just didn't want to be doing anime anymore.
Was one of the issues with Zatch Bell though that because of how I'm not going to try to say Zatch Bell is a really mature show, but the fact that due to the standards of what can be done in a Japanese production or a Japanese television show was another issue with Zatch Bell, just how much quotational censorship was required, because there's like a lot of jokes that are like really more raunchy in the original.
That didn't bother. In fact, I wanted to call him Gash Bill. You know, that would have a little inside joke to make it even raunchier. But no, it was just the fact that they just didn't shut up. There was just so much exposition, you know. It was like, stop talking, do something, you know. That's my only problem with Zatch Bell.
Yeah, then you couldn't do as much comedy because they have to get so much exposition out,
so
right?
Much exposition. It was ridiculous, you know.
Yeah, because I know a lot of episodes where Kanchome and Fulgore are in. there's always something like really effed up, especially in the sub version. There's always some ludicrous
he has a song where he's twisting his nipples and all this.
Yeah.
No, and like one of my favorite episodes, sub and dub, is the Victorine episode, the giant V monster where they keep feeding him the melons.
Yeah.
My favorite part.
I mean, it's a funny show.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun, but it was just too much crying exposition. Yeah. Zach is always crying. Stop crying.
It's the same issue I have. People have with My Hero. Like, My Hero hates the fact that Deku's always crying. And people always make the joke, Zach did it better. Zach did it perfectly because he's a kid versus Deku's supposed to like a teenager. An adult.
At least it wasn't flashback hell that Naruto became in its last 100 episodes.
Yeah, you saved yourself. You saved yourself by getting out of Naruto.
It was a longer running show.
Purchase of the house. No, I had great talent on Zatch Bell. That was the saving grace. I had Colleen O'Shaughnessy. I had Debbie Derryberry. I had Dave Wittenberg, who's, as funny as they come. Wally Wingert was amazing.
Wasn't Wittenberg also Ponygon, the horse?
Yes. And Colleen was the mother. I had Michelle Ruff. I had so many talented people on that show that we just... we had a lot of fun, and Quentin played a lot. He played the V-Mon, and he played Dr. Riddles. Very funny stuff,
One of the best lines, though, with Victorine in that one episode with the V guy, was in the Japanese version when he's pissed off, he always says very shit, and that's like a meme to me. I send that to people when I'm like annoyed at something. I'm just like, very shit.
What did we have him say? Do you remember?
I think he was just like I'm gonna kill you or something. He would just be like I hate you, but like it was weird.
Sound like
yeah, like it was weird. I have to find it. I'll have to find the dub in that, but it's the funniest thing. I think the last half, right before the show was taken down, was when it was its strongest, because the beginning of the show, it's very hard to get into the first 20 episodes.
You talk about improvs. Quentin Flynn singing "Pour Some Sugar on It" as Dr. Riddles was very funny. We just, we had a lot of fun on that show, but ultimately it was not my favorite because, it was silly, I don't love silly.
You don't love silly?
Well, like Bobobo was silly, but hilarious silly,
That show is just wall-to-wall jokes. Like,
just crazy, right? Just insane. I mean, his hair is doing kung fu, for God's sake.
Yeah, like when his afro would open, you weren't exactly sure what would be in there.
Was so perfect in it. Mm-hmm. Great character.
One of the best.
I watched that show with my dad during COVID lockdowns. We watched an episode a day on his lunch breaks from work, and we're just cracking up every single one of them. It was
funny
just
show.
Perfect break.
One of the best Bobo gags is actually, I don't know if you know about the Bobo gag in the manga, where the creator of Bobo was friends with the creator of Yu-Gi-Oh! And he straight up had the Yu-Gi-Oh! Creator come in and draw Yu-Gi-Moto coming out of his hair, summoning Slifer the Sky Dragon in the manga.
A little bit
so
of that.
there's literally some issue where Bobobo summons Yugi to summon Slifer to destroy whatever's in his way. And it's like the funniest panel.
It's hilarious.
See it.
The bonkers show.
Oh. So, all right. What's next on the Jeff Nimoy Wrestling Tour?
I don't know. Shout out. Should we just go right to Famous? Because we didn't talk about Try.
Oh, yeah, we didn't talk about Digimon Try.
We mentioned Try.
I think
we mentioned it. Yeah. Let's see. How was it like returning for Digimon Adventure Try?
Digimon Try was bittersweet because I showed up and I'm like, and why aren't I directing? Why didn't you ask me to direct? That sort of thing. Just all right. So I did it. And I saw, like, as I'm doing my Tentomon, the director's name is Ryan. I see like young Jenna in the background, and I said, "You want me to get that character while I'm here? I mean, that's my character." He went, "Oh, is that you? We were wondering who that is." And I'm like, "What? I have got a long relationship with the studio. They could have picked up the phone and said, 'Jeff, who's this?' I wouldn't have charged them money to consult or anything. I would have told them who's who." And also, like, when it was time for Tentomon to Digivolve, the director said, we're not sure if you're supposed to say Tentomon Digivolve, pause 2, Tentomon, pause, Digivolve 2. I said, I got this, Junior. Just roll tape. I'm like, I've done this a lot.
You know what's funny too, Jeff, is I always noticed though that the American version was more in continuity. So who was in charge of making it more in continuity than the original draft when you watch it subbed?
I'm sorry, which shit series are we talking about?
Try, because in Try,
I'm just an actor on Try. I have nothing to do with it.
Okay, because
it's kind of an interesting thing because Try, like the original dubs, added a lot of dialogue, but they ended up kind of fixing the plot holes that sort of existed, which is kind of wild.
If you don't know, there's
but the interesting part with Genai is they have a completely different pronunciation of Genai in that dub as well. They call him Genai.
Well, we had that a lot in Japan too. You know, we had we would have two different pronunciations early on, and we'd have different spellings, and then Toy, ourselves, and Bandai, the toy company who also made the cards, we would all get together and say, okay, it's going to stay this in Japan, and it's going to stay this in America. So we had a lot of that, different pronunciations of different things. So Genai goes back to series 1, season 1, you know. So I only acted in Try, and luckily I spotted Genai back there. Otherwise, some other idiot would be playing Genai, which would be a shame because that was like the best Genai stuff ever given to Genai, pretty much. The Try stuff, you know, the bad guy, and then they did ask me finally to write, you know, I mean adapt, you know, into English, Digimon Adventure. Evolution, Akuna, what was it called?
Last Evolution.
Last Evolution, yeah. Mizuna. So I got to write that, which was nice. That was a nice little, but again, I didn't get to direct. Susie directed that.
Okay, that's interesting because there are issues with when you watch it in the original Japanese, it doesn't make sense because characters are out of character in that. But then when they dubbed it, whoever wrote for it had the balls to research.
And then for Kizuno, it was you.
Yeah.
Because I noticed that with Kizuno as well, it was a little bit more consistent.
Everything's got to make sense. It's got to make sense. Yeah. It would drive me crazy. Continuity is such a big part of being a filmmaker, you know?
Because, if you've ever seen it raw, Joe in the Try Adventure 6 movies, he regressed in the Japanese version. So
he was kind of back to where he was in the middle of the first series, as opposed to being where he was in the second. And it was some really odd choices. Yeah, and it's interesting to hear that behind the scenes, it's like they didn't even ask you to work on it.
Look, I'm lucky I got to play Tentomon. A lot of people had to audition for their voices and didn't get them, you know?
Yeah, noticed that too. There's a lot of recasting in Try, which it throws it off a bit. They did in the Japanese version, they ditched the entire human cast, cast all new people, and so that's where it kind of leads me to Discotek Media and Sound Cadence doing the new dubs for the old movies, and they bring everybody back in.
So they came to me for that. Marissa, who did it, came to me and said, we would like you to write them, dub them, maybe using some of your old jokes, but for the most part, doing a more traditional dub, And I said I would love to write it and direct it. I gave them a bid on what it would cost me, what it cost them for me. And they were all for it. And then at the last minute, they were like, we can't afford that. We decided to do it union, which is always good anyway. You want it to be actors being union. So we decided to do it union, which means we can't afford you. So I only acted in that, but it was nice, nice to see what they kept, what they didn't keep, because I not a week goes by on Digimon the movie that people don't write me and say, it was such a big part of my childhood. I'm laughing now at jokes I didn't get when I was a kid, things like that,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad they showed it with those, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what makes the Blu-ray so great, is that it has both versions there.
Yeah,
and I think it was fun revisiting the original Digimon the movie dub, and then just there's so many good jokes in there.
And I cut out 40 minutes of one of those movies. As Chaim said, it took me a week to watch that movie last night.
That movie is bad. That movie is
very
Hurricane Touchdown.
The third movie is very long.
Title.
Yeah, the third movie is as long as its title, which is like Hurricane Touchdown: The Transcendent Golden Digimentals. It's a little lengthy, yeah.
When I read Golden Digi, I started getting hives. Like, I hated when they added all that in season 2. Well, they're just looking for excuses to, expand.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild because like I was rewatching the movies, and one of the best jokes is still the one that you also mentioned on your blog about. Oh, luckily he's going to the subway system. He's gonna get lost there. We're good.
Yeah.
We got 15 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I think I also mentioned the original joke was he's heading to Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
And Bob's joke was the Yankees don't need him; they need pitching. I love that.
That's a good one. That one was a good one on the blog because that year they did suck. They did suck. They didn't have a pitching team that year going in.
It got cut.
I gotta say, a lot of them, I think the jokes, one of the best jokes that me and Soundout love to bring up, you didn't have to read it so good when Ty wanted to beat up Izzy for reading the fan mail.
Which one?
So basically, Izzy's reading the emails from the other kids around the world, and they're like, "Your Digimon sucks. Your Digimon's so worthless." And then Ty's just like, "What did you say, Izzy?" And Izzy's like, "I was just reading the email."
Oh,
you didn't have to read it so well.
Yeah.
Another.
He's in third grade. He's in junior high school, and he's taking college courses. Well, I'm in junior high school. I'm taking junior high school.
That's the quote I was just about to say.
And that one made it to the new dub. They kept that one.
Okay.
The fact that you just said the quote I was about to quote, that's amazing.
That whole sequence between Izzy and Ty is my favorite part of that whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
Their little Abbott and Costello routines,
Yeah, it's a lot of great moments, and just like the banter is really
one
fun.
of the other best jokes in there is the one with how clueless Ty's mom is, where he goes, "Man, I wish I could get a hold of Mimi, his mom. Oh yeah, that's right. She's on vacation. Him. What did you just say?"
He's like, "You're telling me this now?"
The thing that I always loved about the direction, even from the Japanese side, and obviously your side, no matter which version it is, whether it's the new dub, whether it's the original dub, is how the fate of the world is on their shoulders, right. And Kairi still chooses to stay at the party. Yep. That's the part where, like, every time I watch that, no matter what, I want to punt kick Kairi.
And how about that plug for Power Rangers that we put in there? She had a
I never looked Power Rangers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, that one was great. Have you ever heard the urban legend story about a girl who said that the Angela Anaconda segment caused her family to finally out their divorce? There's like this urban legend that they don't know is true or real.
Surprised me if it happened.
Because that segment came on, made the parents think they were in the wrong movie, and said, "This is why we're getting a divorce." And
when I saw that at the premiere, I thought it was just for the premiere. I didn't think it was attached to the movie. I had no idea. And then when I went to see it in a theater with paying audience, I was like, why didn't they tell us,
That was horrible.
I don't get it. And Angela Anaconda was like a new show. It wasn't even that popular. They were just trying their best to promote it. Mm-hmm. And then when I got the VHS, it's still on there. It's like it's attached to the movie. You can't get rid of it.
It finally got rid of it on the Discotek Blu-ray. Doesn't have it because of the licensing. They couldn't license it.
Here's a question, Jeff. What was your thoughts, though, on the home video release? At least if you had it on, I don't know if you bought it on DVD or VHS, but if you had it on VHS, there was this Digimon primer tape that you guys released during the show's airing, when it was first airing. And it was a primer video. It was like a 15-minute what is Digimon? And it would come with certain Digimon toys. And for some reason, Saban paid to put that primer on front of the movie, on front of the end. So if you get it on VHS, you're forced to sit through the primer for 20 minutes. Then the Angela Anaconda segment, then the movie.
It sounds like something this guy Kent Butterworth was tasked to do. I don't know.
Yeah, because in the video, it's mostly Mimi's voice actress, who is no longer with us, as well as Joshua Seth. and they're the ones like introducing what Digimon is. It's like almost it feels like one of those tapes that they would mail out before the show would air, but they were selling it as the show was airing.
Don't know.
Weird.
Never heard of it until right now.
Yeah, no, it's a weird video because a lot of people don't know about it unless they had the VHS.
I think it's on the Discotek Blu-ray for the movies.
Is it?
I think they threw it in as a bonus feature. There's some weird segment on there. Circling back to the Angela Anaconda thing, here's another fun fact because I didn't know this until like an Angela Anaconda super fan came into my YouTube comments on my review of the Blu-ray, and they said, "Oh, by the way, that Angela Anaconda Digimon short is just a heavily edited version of season 2, episode whatever of Angela Anaconda." And I was like, "What?" I looked it up, and it is. Like it's like they newly produced it.
They're not gonna produce new footage for that stuff. No, of course.
Yeah, it was great. It was it's like they just slapped like Ty's hair on Angela's existing animation model. I was like, oh wow, it's like how many layers does
it was this
go?
cute thing they did at the premiere. Wow, what a sweet little thing. Yeah. And then, just kept going and going and going.
Yep. No, it was bad. And what's funny too is a lot of people I think you probably heard this about the divisiveness of the Digimon movie rap. Like people either love it or they hate it. Like for some reason
I remember getting a note from Terry asking for a bunch of words like digi stuff. And I'm like, I have no idea what you're asking me right now. Can you please leave me alone while I write this movie? I'm like, what are you talking about? And then when I finally saw the movie, I understood what she was talking about. Did you this? Did you that? Did you do that?
It was like, I had this thing like, I loved the digi rap as a kid. Then as a teenager, I was like, this is dumb. And then as an adult, I'm like, nah, it's fine.
The soundtrack is great on Digimon.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
the movie,
you guys were smart to like include bare naked ladies when they peaked with 1 week. So like it was smart. You guys beat Shrek to Hey Now You're an All-Star.
We got a lot of great stuff. That was all Ron Kanan, who was the head of music at Saban Entertainment, or I should say Fox Family Worldwide at that time. Yeah, it was great. I mean, I couldn't believe that they were getting songs that were on the radio right then and there. It was amazing.
It made it feel current too. And then now it's like this great album of like the late 90s, like music.
I still play it in my like playlists and stuff.
I've got
it on my phone. I listen to it all the time.
Kids in America from Lem.
I love Paul Gordon and Jeremy Sweet's music that they did for the show, the insert music. Good music. I love Run Around.
I'm so glad all those songs were on the soundtrack because a lot of insert songs for shows are never released outside of it, but they got it in on the movie soundtrack.
I remember popping when they were like, oh, it only has 13 albums, and then it just keeps playing, and you're just like, what? Like that was the cool part about the album was it didn't tell you that the show songs were in there, so you're just like, I guess and all of a sudden you're like, what? Why is Run Around on here? Why is Going Digital on here? Let's kick it up.
Right.
Change into Power.
And the theme song of Digi.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the regular version of the theme song, so just the Digi rap. Yeah.
Well, here's a funny thing, Jeff, because we were talking about this with Dorothy, but when the show originally began, before season 3, most of the actors didn't get to be a Digimon's full evolution chain from like rookie to ultimate. Like you were like the only guy in the main cast that got to go Tentomon all the way to essentially Mega.
So that was one of the big changes I made immediately when I started as showrunner. It bothered me that Tom was Agumon, and then Michael Lindsay was Greymon, and then Lex Lang was Metal Greymon.
No, actually it was Joe Piloto or whatever, and then Lang was War Greymon.
Right, War Greymon. And like, it's 4 actors to play. I'm like, from now on, whatever you are throughout, And when I auditioned for Sabers, I did the same thing. Like, you're auditioning for the biggest guy as well as when you're auditioning for the small guy, And it was too confusing, you know what I mean? It was just way too, and it was too hard to schedule, And I'm like, and I'm not bringing in another actor to go, because, you have to think of budget. When you're a director, you're not just thinking about performance. You're thinking about time, budget. You're thinking about a lot of different things, sound effects, music, where things go, leaving room for other things. And it just made more sense. And again, that was one of the things where Terry was like, I just want one hand to simplify things, and I simplify things even more, So anything that came after episode 16, let's say, you started playing all your characters after that.
Yeah, because I noticed you, if it was doable, you had it like that. Because I noticed there are some Digivolutions where voices did still change in the later half of the first season, but then when you went to season 2, like,
it's pretty consistent from there.
Yeah,
on out.
Steve Blum plays most of Veemon's evolutions. Because like Veemon was Derek Stephen Prince, but Flamedramon, Rageramon, and one other was, I think, Blum, and then
that was one of the rare instances where it didn't continue, and that was more because it was really hard to book Derek Stephen Prince.
Okay.
And I was just like, I have no patience to wait for you to do all these things.
Yeah, because I also know Neil Kaplan, I don't think, did all of his voices for.
It's possible, but Steve, and Steve was quickly becoming a favorite of mine at that time as well. So we just, Steve and I have a short.
I was just remembering Armadillomon was Robert Axelrod, and
then
Tom was Digimon.
Well, again, that was more I'm taking care of my boy Tom because I felt bad because Agumon wasn't in season 2, and he was the star of season 1. I'm like, I got to give Tom something over here.
Yeah,
give him a bone. Just give him a bone.
Throw my buddy a bone.
Yeah, no, because I noticed that like with 2, it was a little bit more consistent. And then 3, when Mary took over, she was she took your idea and ran with it though, of the consistency.
And it was interesting too because Steve Blum was voicing Guilmon and he had a really high pitched voice for Guilmon, and he used that same voice for all the evolutions. It wasn't like he didn't change the pitch on the evolution, but just it's like Guilmon got bigger, but he still had this like cute little baby dinosaur voice. So it was kind of like that idea of like keeping it consistent.
And then what was it? Mona, who played Izzy, was Terriermon from the movie, and then she did Terriermon and Tamers. And so Terriermon was I would love to interview her just because the outtake she did as Terriermon for the new Discotek dub killed me. Where she's like, "We're gonna commit murder," and I'm just like,
that's also one of my favorite jokes in Digimon the movie, where she's holding court as Terriermon, and she just tells the punchline to a joke, a really bad old joke, but all the other Digimon crack up laughing. And then the guy says, "I was talking to the duck," and everyone starts laughing. Like, what?
It's one of those great gags where you feel like you missed the conversation.
So stupid.
It's great.
So stupid. Just makes me laugh. I don't care if it made anyone else laugh. Just did it for me. Just like, thank you for visiting .com. Like, what?
Oh yeah, that was cool too with the cat.
Is the cat really on the internet?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, there was a lot because like just knowing like how it carried over, because like at least some of the stuff you did, obviously, she did because they were the same voices going forward. It was like, no, you have to be this Digimon. We got to make it that Growlmon is Growlmon, Terriermon is Terriermon. So you laid the groundwork for her pretty much, I feel like. Even though she was,
we don't know. We didn't talk much about the transition,
Yeah, you said it was like a rocky thing. I guess it was like you and Saban.
Really close friends. She and Steve live in Hawaii now. I wish I could visit them, but I just don't have the time to go over there right now.
All right.
One of the things I just remembered was the barber shop in Digimon the movie.
Oh, yeah.
All the weird personalities that exist in that.
Floyd the Barber is one of my favorite.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
It wasn't until we started talking that I realized you were the barber.
Andy Griffith. Bob played Andy Griffith, and I played Floyd the Barber. I mean, Barney the Deputy Barney Five. And I played Floyd the Barber. And I think Anna Garduno played Aunt B. It just, like I said, Bob and I watch stuff, and it's like, what is it? What does it look like? And we're like, looks like the cast of the Andy Griffith Show.
Yeah.
He's getting a haircut from Floyd. And boom, we were off and running. That's all it takes for it. Me and Bob. What does it look like? Let's go for it.
Hey, sound out. Bring a little puppet to the forefront.
Bring the puppet to the forefront?
Yeah, he's right there.
Where did he go? Oh, Tatamon. Oh, I have the same one right over there. Right over there by the Emmy Award.
Yeah, no. The last time when we were doing the interview with Tom, immediately Tom's like, "Hey, what do you got there? You got some Agumons? Got some Agumen? What do you got there?" Like Tom was just like,
Agumen.
and it's funny too. I was gonna bust out my
plural of Agumon.
Yeah, bro, Agumon is Agumen.
Like I was gonna bust out my Kabuterimon because that thing I still have it out. Like it's on my desk. I just can't reach it. Like I've played with that Digimon.
Kabuterimon. Hercules Kabuterimon.
I played with that probably.
I love the range you have just in giant bugs. Yeah, it's really cool.
I gotta say, what was it? Adventure Try Movie 3, right? Sign up when Hercules, Kabuterimon, solos, all of them. That's probably one of the coolest scenes in all of the movies. Like I don't really like the movies that much for like the storytelling of why it's so different, but luckily the dub fixed it. But like that Hercules scene, sub and dub, I just love how like Tentomon's like, I'm the only one not infected. I'm gonna kill all of my teammates. And like you just like your character just bear hugs him. Is like, nope, I'm the biggest, I'm the baddest. We're going back. Hit the reset button, Izzy. Do it. Like I just love how it's just like this like climactic thing, and it's just Hercules Kabuterimon 1v like all of them. He's just like, I'll take you all up. Like no, it was amazing.
7,
it's like one of the
1v7,
most, yeah, no, it's like one of the most like badass scenes. Like Hercules Kabuterimon is just like, I got this, and I'm just like, bruh, what?
I'm glad I could still bring it. You know.
Yeah, no, it was wild because like literally that Hercules Kabuterimon did the meme like you said. Fuck Agumon, you were the main character. You were like, I'm the main character. I'm him.
Like, I don't care that Patamon's been the focus of the whole movie. I'm the one doing the final thing.
That's the other thing, you know, I said before it was bittersweet seeing Trigun, you know, that I wasn't directing it. And then when you go to the premiere and you're like, yeah, it's great. You know, I'm like, God, all I'm thinking about is like, I would direct that differently. I would move that differently, you know. And no offense to Ryan, you know, I'm just, you know, it didn't matter who would have directed it. I would have been like, I would have done that differently, you know. When Patamon was crying and I was in that audience, people were dying laughing at Patamon crying. And I'm like, I think I would have tried to make the audience cry instead of laugh.
Yeah, it was funny. I think watching the scene in Japanese, I cried the first time. Watching it in English, for some reason, because of Patamon's voice, I was hysterical.
Yeah,
everyone was in the theater that I saw it. I'm like, I would have tried to do something a little different there, you know? Yeah, Did you cry Famish, by the way?
Which part?
Oh, there's a part that got me. The one part, you know the part. The part we're going to ask about.
Yeah, the one, the one if it was true about the mother, right?
It's the only part to cry in Famish. It's the only part.
I mean, I was crying from laughter. That's for sure. From other scenes, I was in tears laughing. Like, I don't want to spoil. Like, I don't want to spoil a lot of them. Like, the one thing I don't want to spoil, we will try to walk around that thing because
I mean, we have questions about Famish, we should probably get to.
Yeah, we will get.
We've exhausted. We've talked about everything but Trigun, so let's talk about Famish.
Yeah. Well, and I have, even though I love Trigun, I don't really have a lot of questions for Trigun. I really don't. I love I don't have. I'm like, what can I actually ask him? Because he didn't.
It's okay, Neil Logan. It's all been asked already. It's just one season of my life.
I'm pretty sure you were just a voice, right? Or did you work and direct on that?
Just 10 episodes. That was the voice. That's it. Let's move on.
Exactly.
Do you have a memorable story from working on it?
The memorable story is the end of my affiliation with it which I blogged about as well, was I was working on Digimon the movie and Digimon season 2 at the same exact time. So I'm writing a movie, writing a series, directing a series, and, you know, pre-production on a movie. It's a lot of work. I was like working 20 hours a day, every day. And Trigun called and were like, we need 11 hours and then you die. You know, I'm like, great, I'll give you 11 hours in March. And you're like, no, we need it now. I'm like, I don't have it until March. I'm really busy. And it was just like ridiculous. They hounded me for these 11 hours. I'm like, I don't have it. What if I was out of the country filming a movie? I just don't have it. So finally, they harassed me so much. I was just like, all right, Friday night, I'm going to come and we're going to do it at 6 o'clock at night. And we'll do an all-nighter. And I will give you your 11 hours at 5 in the morning. I had my death scene and I felt like I was actually dying because I was up all night, my voice was going, and we finished the series, and that's the big memorable death scene, and it's because I felt like I was actually dying.
You were living the moment.
The famous joke though popped me early on, where she was like, "Oh, I was so sad when he died." Yeah, I was too. I was out of a job. That was like the best punchline to anything ever. It's like, yeah, well, my job was done. I'm like,
yeah.
But
died. Yeah, I cried too. I was out of a job, right?
Sad that. Yeah. All right, let's get to Famous. We have a lot of questions on Famous.
We got several. Yes, first things first. What led you to creating Stoop Productions, and how did that trickle into making Famous?
Okay, well, after Digimon and Bob and I parted, Bob and I owned a company called Spliced Bread Productions together, and I just sold Spliced Bread to Bob for $1 and said, I really don't want to do anime anymore. Now that Digimon's over, I want to do other things. I had bigger aspirations. I wanted to make movies, right? And TV series. So I sold Spliced Bread to Bob for $1, and I went on to create the Stoop Productions. And I don't know if you know what a stoop is. A stoop in Brooklyn, everyone has a stoop in the front of their house.
Exactly.
That's where everything happens. Everyone's going, if you want to know what's going on, just hang out on the stoop, and you'll find out eventually, So that's what the stoop is about. So I tried to get a bunch of films made and a bunch of TV series made. And, I had a couple of things in development, but I never really got anything done. And then one day in 2017, yes, I got a brain tumor. And luckily they caught it and removed it. I still have a lot of issues to this day, which I will always have for the rest of my life. But I have a new lease on life. I almost died. And I felt very blessed to be still alive, very grateful. And I realized time is fleeting, And I said, I came to LA originally to be a filmmaker. And I'm tired of asking permission, begging for money and a job and this and that. I'm just going to make a movie. I don't care I don't care. I'm just making it. I have no money. I have no anything. So I took a class called No Budget Filmmaking, and they encouraged me to write a movie around certain aspects that I have access to, like a con, or voice actors. What do you have access to that's free, that won't cost you any money? So my pitch to everyone was the same. I went to Lex Lang and Brian Donovan and Jonathan Fahn and all these people. I said the same thing. I said, I have no money. I don't know if this movie will ever be good. I don't know if anyone will ever see this movie. I don't even know if we can complete this movie. All I know is I'm tired of asking permission. So let's make a movie. And they were all like, yes, let's make a movie. A lot of people turned me down too. I'm only giving you the ones who said yes. A lot of people said no, especially about the subject matter. They weren't quite sure about the subject matter. They were afraid of pissing off fans, and things like that. And there were so many people that were so many actors I sent it out to that turned it down, that they thought it would piss off fans, that I actually asked a fan to join as a consultant. And I gave the fan the script to read. And he was like, this is great. What are you talking about? This is fantastic. I love this as a tribute to the fans. I'm like, yes, that's what I thought. All right, I'm making a movie,
I think it was the crashness was probably what they're afraid of, was that image that they have of being, I was your favorite thing growing up as a child. I can't say the F word. I can't be snorting coke. I can't be.
And I also think they were
taking pills.
By the way, there's no coke in the movie. But
There isn't. There isn't. I just
alcohol consumption rated mature for TV audiences. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yes, it's a mature movie for sure. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. All that stuff. So, but they were afraid that I'm charging fans money. Yeah, the fans already know you're charging money. When they're handing over $20 for your autograph, they already know you're charging money.
I'm gonna be honest with you. When you said $20, I was like, bro, I'll drop 100 right now if that's his actual price.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah, I heard 20 and I was like, only 20?
Only 20, right.
Like Tom and Dorothy are 60 together, and I'm like, 60 for one person. Little insane. 60 for two people. Okay.
Yeah, well, right. I'm 40 in real life. I'm 40, but 60 if you buy two, right?
Yeah, no,
yeah. So anyway, but for the movie purposes, my character was so clueless about that they even charge money. They were like, "What's your price? Free?" They're like, "No, you gotta charge. What are you talking about? You'll kill us." That's what people were like. You can't let people know that's what we talk about. That's what we think. So I think that was the big taboo. I'm pulling back the curtain on professional voice acting, money making at conventions.
It's funny you say that too, because conventions have been going on since ever, but the charging prices have been going up since before the pandemic. So I don't know why they're thinking it's a bad.
When I first did it, we charged nothing, and we had 5-hour long lines, and we signed them all. You know what I mean? We felt we owed it back to the fans. And then I met someone at a convention in Australia, and she was like, no, you've got to charge. This is their Super Bowl. I put those words right in the script. This is their Super Bowl. They want to pay you. Okay. 20, all right, great. I made it simple, Yeah. So anyway, so then I started, making the movie, and sure enough, it was good enough to get a distribution deal. People did see it, and people do want to see it, and it, it was good. I think it's good, and 87% on Rotten Tomatoes and 97% on Amazon. So it's. I think it's a fact now that it's good. It's not everyone's cup of tea. No movie is, right? But it got a distribution deal, which is a lot more than most movies do. And for a movie that cost nothing, literally nothing to make, to get a distribution deal, it's outrageous.
And it's easily accessible because it's on Tubi now.
It's on Tubi and Roku. Yeah, and Roku. If people have Roku, I watch it on Tubi myself. And it was also bad timing because when it did come out, the pandemic hit. It was scheduled to, in February they scheduled it for a May 12th release, and 1 month later the pandemic hit. And I thought, well, this will be great. People are home, they're watching, but there was so much free stuff at that point. Not free, but people already had Netflix subscriptions and Amazon, so I'm not spending $3.99 on a movie, so unfortunately it didn't do that well financially, but it's a movie, it's got legs, it can last forever. Long after I'm gone, that movie will still be available for viewership somewhere.
Yeah.
Now, besides pulling back the curtain, like you said, you took the class. Was that the reason why you made it very also a reflection of your life in some regards? It's a satire, it's meta, it's talking because looking at your blog, like you said, you had a rough patch during Zach.
Originally, I was going to do. I took a year off of everything. By the way, I quit all work to do pre-production. I needed a year because I knew it was going to be tight. I only have 6 days to film everything. At the anime convention, only 3 with fans. So I knew things were going to be tight. So I took a year off to do pre-production on this, and I thought through everything. And I thought, well, what if I'm doing a take, and my character's name is Robert Johnson, and someone comes running up to me and says, "Mr. Nimoy, can you sign this for me?" And you ruin the take. But if my name is Jeff Nimoy and you come running up to me and say, Mr. Nimoy, can you sign for me? I can keep going. I could keep the take going, you know. I might not have time for a second take. I really, and in retrospect, it turned out that way. You know, I had things timed to the minute, you know, and we needed every one of those minutes. Trust me. So I just, I said, it's better if we all play fictional characters. And then I thought, like, what's the harm? Well, Larry David does Curb Your Enthusiasm. That's not really Larry David in real life. You know, he's not some psychotic guy who goes around, you know, bothering people like that. And I was also influenced by the Trip movies. There's Trip to Italy, The Trip to Spain with Steve Coogan. And they play themselves going on these different trips, you know. And I'm like, let me just play a fictional character myself. Why not, you know? So that's where all that meta stuff came in. It really was to save any potentially wasted take by a fan. And also, I didn't know what kind of signage they'd have up there. I don't want to be Steve Johnson under a picture that says Jeff Nimoy, you know?
Yeah, because I was wondering, like, was it also because you wanted to have, like, a bit of a reflection? Because you, like, reading your blog, knowing that you had issues with it, because there's a lot of, like I said, it's a satirical version, it's a more meta version of you, but there's obviously truth in some of it, right?
Absolutely. Once I did make that decision to play a character named Jeff Nimoy, I was like, well, let's bring all the rumors about Jeff Nimoy to the forefront and confront them head on, you know? And all these rumors about, like, you know, the Me Too era and everything, like, I'm telling you, there are more rumors about me and other directors than any, you know, if you're a director, you've got rumors about you, right? So I'm like, prove it. Who am I going to go to prove these are rumors, you know? Like, Doug Stone came to me once and said, I said to this one director, she directed me, and I said, you should hire Jeff Nimoy. And she said, oh, I heard he makes actresses sleep with him before he casts them in a role. And I'm like, Doug, think about this. I'm asking them to sleep with me for a $125 paying job with no residuals, right? And like I'll give them $150 not to sleep with me. How about that, Doug? You know what I mean? Like, it makes no sense. And he said, well, you should call her and confront her. I'm like, confront who? She heard. Who'd she hear it from? You know, and whoever she heard it from, she certainly feels very free spreading that rumor around to friends of mine, let alone strangers, you know? So I'm like, let me just confront these rumors right up and say, you know, oh, I heard you have a girl in every city. And my character's like, yeah, well, I haven't gotten laid in 10 years, so the joke's on you, you know?
Yeah, no, it's wild, because I hear rumors about some people where I'm like, okay, that has to be a rumor. And then I'll hear rumors about other people, and I'm like, he was fishy that time I hung out with him, you know?
Well, I'm not saying where there's smoke, there isn't fire sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously,
a
lot of these things are based on things I've witnessed as well at conventions, you know, the kind of behavior I'm talking about. I've witnessed, you know, and it's not like my character's some innocent guy. My character does take the bait. He does try to do it. He can't perform, but he tries, right?
Yeah, no.
So he's not so innocent, but the point of the whole thing is, well, who doesn't make mistakes? You know, we all do. We're humans. We're not like, when we're born, we're not given these Me Too rules, you know, to follow. You know, we fuck up. We're human beings. We fuck up. Who has their shit worked out? You know, we're all works in progress. And that's sort of the overriding theme of that, you know. Who hasn't fucked up? But if you're a real human, you try to get better. You know, you're not some narcissist sociopath that goes, oh, fuck her, you know? You care about people. You care about what they think. You care about their feelings and how you've hurt them.
That makes sense. Sound out. I guess you take the next one.
There was a lot of Xanax in this movie. It was like, not only was your character like always like needing Xanax, but you had so many people just like, do you need some Xanax? I have a whole extra bottle just hanging around. What was the like What was
Right.
the origin point of the Xanax jokes?
Well, Quentin took a lot of Xanax when we were on tour. He got very nervous around the fans. The fans, deservedly so, the fans demanded a lot of Quentin, and he got a little nervous sometimes, so he needed a Xanax joke. And I realized, like, we are so overly medicated as a society, and people have so much extra stuff like that. If I wanted a Xanax right now, all I'd have to do is ask someone in my apartment building, for a Xanax. I can guarantee you, I can walk away with, there are 9 units in this building. I bet you I can get 9 tablets right now if I knock on doors. It's just, there's so much prescription medicine available to all of us, right? So if you really wanted to try to commit suicide, which is ultimately what the movie's about, if you really wanted to try to commit suicide, it wouldn't be that hard to do it without nefarious ways. You don't have to buy a gun. You just ask your sister, you got any extra? That's all you have to do. You just have to mention it, and someone goes, oh, yeah, I have a whole pill. I have a whole bottle. Here you go. And at the end, it's readily available for you if you really want it.
All right.
So there you go.
That made a lot of sense because I was like, this is either based on somebody he knows that always needed it, or he had an issue where he was like, one time he just asked and someone was like, here, have a bottle.
Well, every time I've asked, someone has one.
That's crazy. that's funny.
Apparently most
I
easily
don't have a
available
prescription for it myself. But every time I've had a panic attack or whatever, maybe 3 or 4 times my entire life, and I've asked someone for some kind of tranquilizer, they've got it.
All right, so to ask.
Just a side story, but like I was at Disneyland with some friends last fall, and it was just like the middle of our second day, and we're all just like, someone was like, oh, my feet are killing me. Oh, my back hurts. And I was like, everyone want Tylenol? I just start passing it out. And I was like, okay, guys, I got 3 left. We got to make it to the end of the trip.
Draw straws for the last 2.
It's funny. But I have a similar story where one time my friend really needed a painkiller. And I think what it was we were at a sporting event. They broke their limb and they really needed an effect. And I said to my friend, by the time they rush you to the hospital, you're going to be like a screaming. So I literally go over to them. I pull out, because for me being physically disabled, I have really good pain meds for my issues. So I grab a Neurontin, a gabapentin, whatever, for people to know. I give it to them and I say, listen, I'm giving this to you. It's one of the higher dosage because I have a higher tolerance level. I'm giving this to you. If you take it, you don't tell anyone where you effing got it from.
Right.
But take it. But they had broken their ankle and I gave it to them. And they were just like doped up the entire time. And like somebody even said to like their relative was like, yo, they were so calm with that ankle injury. Yeah. What did it? And I was like, I don't know. I'm just sitting there.
I broke a rib once. I broke a rib once. I'm like, well, what am I going to do? Go to the hospital? They're just going to take me up. You can't do anything for a broken rib. I called a friend. He was like, yeah, I've got all this leftover pain medication for a surgery I had, And we have all this in our society. It's all, it's all part of it.
Speaking of which, yeah,
speaking of which,
the juicy question.
The drunk recording booth segment. Was that just invented? Is there some basis of it? Did you hear some story along the way?
It's something I wanted to do one night and talk myself out of. But in a movie, you can talk yourself back into it pretty easily. It's something I wanted to do very badly one night. I was very angry. And I'm not going to mention the studio, but I was just like, I have the keys. I should just go over there right now. And I don't want to give the spoiler because it's one of the bigger jokes in the movie. And just, do this right now, defile the studio and just trash the place. And then I thought, well, how would he get caught? And then I came up with the idea of how he got caught, which I don't want to give it out. I don't want to give that one away.
Yeah, no, that one was one of our favorite moments because we were like, I think me and Sat, we both said if Jeff himself haven't just concocted this one up, someone in the industry has already done it. We were like, someone had to have done it.
Just a thought I had one night. Like, the real scene will make a good scene for a movie one day.
Like, that one was great. Like, that one was amazing. That one was probably one of the big ones that popped us until the plot twist reveal of let's just say without spoilers of when you took the bait and then the bait bought back, like it fought back. Like, my God, it was literally a punch to the face.
Right on.
We had to pause to laugh. We didn't want to miss anything.
Did. Like the thing that
the major plot twist happens, and I just slapped the space bar. I was like, hold on, I need a moment to process.
But here's the thing: you stopped it right when the table got flipped, because when the table flipped, me and Sound Out also reflected on the time I accidentally flipped over a table at a convention.
Yeah.
Like
on purpose.
No,
it was an accident, but it was a perfectly timed accident.
Yes,
we'd been spending this whole weekend at a convention trying to talk to these Japanese actors, and because we were there as press, and we're like, oh, when should we get? We need to schedule with them. And the people at the booth were just like, oh, come back tomorrow. It's like, oh, come back tomorrow. And they were there on the last day, and they're like, oh, well, the schedule's been booked up the entire weekend. You never had a chance, anyways. And then what ended up happening to your scooter?
I went while we were getting our autographs to, while scheduling the interview. And as he says, oh, it's all booked up, I'm handing him the money. But they make you now wear wristbands on top of having the badges. So the wristband, I'm on an electric scooter rental because it's all carpeted. And I wasn't going to push myself in my manual wheelchair. So the wristband catches the throttle of the scooter. The scooter is up, but I'm not making it go super fast, but I had it up good enough. So as I'm handing the money, I'm like, all right, I'll just take this for my autograph. And as I'm going to hand it, the chair hits the throttle and the table goes. So out of context, it seems like I'm flipping the table because he just said, you're not getting your effing interview. Even though I'm handing the money to the handler going, I'm taking this for the autograph. So it's like, perfectly, like if someone
perfectly comedically timed. It's just the table went over.
It just goes right over.
And I was like, "Do you want me to help clean it up?" And they're like, "No, just get the autograph."
It was pretty funny because the translator they had hired for this specific show was furious with them and the showrunner because they told us, "Come back Sunday, and we'll get you in for your interview." And then we went back, and they already did every interview with every press outlet and never called us.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was one of the wildest things we've ever had at a con for press.
In that scene, Lex and I improvised. Lex, I knew was an improviser. So we improvised quite a bit. As you could tell in the credits also, you could see like we were improvising, different scenes. But in that scene also, like, he improvised the Kevin Spacey line. Again, I don't want to give away any jokes, but, I almost wanted to cut that because I'm a fan of Kevin Spacey's work. And like, God, I'd kind of like to work with Kevin Spacey one day, but, they laughed, and you can't argue with the laughter.
Yeah, exactly. No, it was great. There was a lot of stuff in there where like, we were just like, wow, okay, this is getting...
Lex and I improvised a lot, and the whole, again, without giving anything away, that girl's name Lex came up with, because originally I called her something else. And Lex was like, there's this character that's also named this and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, let's name her that and dress her like this, So that was Lex's idea too.
So here's
a question. Lex wrote music for the movie.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And I used one of his hits that Mary Elizabeth sings on called Bump That Body in the dance scene. When he goes completely ballistic, when he loses all inhibition and he's going for his last hurrah, So
the music, by the way, the music was great on the movie. Terrific soundtrack.
Thank you. A lot of it's Lex. A lot of it is a friend of mine from school, a friend of mine from softball that Kirk knows. And most of it is from this band called The Red Button that I've been a fan of for many years.
So here's a question. How did you convince Donovan to technically be one of like the main antagonists of the film? How did you convince him to be?
Okay. So let me go
yet.
back again to the casting where people turn me down. So my first thought was, let's cast actors who are really big at conventions, who draw a lot of fans at conventions, because I figured it might be the only place this movie ever plays is a convention. I couldn't imagine at that point I would get a distribution deal, The movie was going to be too small. So I did think that, it can at least play at a convention. So when I got these people turning me down because of fear that it would hurt their career, I thought, you know what? I got to stop going to fans who became actors because they were anime fans, which most of those actors are, the big stars, right? The Texas people in particular. I got to go for people who are actors who just happen to get a role in anime. It's just one aspect of their career. It's not because they're anime fans in particular. They're actors, right? And the first person I thought of after that was Brian Donovan. And who I was with the same voiceover agency. Obviously, I knew him through Digimon. I'm a big fan of his. I was a fan of his sister. He made a movie called Kelly's Hollywood, which I highly recommend. One of the best documentaries you'll ever see in your life. And I immediately thought of him, contacted him. I saw him that morning. I went to the recording studio where we were both voiceover, clients of, and I had his picture up on my computer. He walks in and his headshot is on my computer. He's like, what the, and I'm like, just the man I want to see. And he asked for a few changes, like the girl's age was a little younger in the first draft. He's like, she's got to be at least legal age. That's a deal breaker for me. I'm like, easy, easy. So things like that, So Brian, who is the nicest guy you'll ever meet, I thought it's perfect casting to make him the bad guy. Just like I cast him as Rock Lee in Naruto, if you know Naruto. And it's not really his character, his personality is kind of the opposite of Rock Lee's, And I just thought, it's really good casting because he's a really good actor and he could play it,
Like he looked the piece of the character he plays in that. He looked like
he steals the movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, he does, because he plays the dirtbag so well.
So you can imagine who he's based on, real people. But anyway, he was my first choice once I came to this conclusion of this is how I have to cast this movie. He was my first and only choice for that role, and I'm lucky I got him.
It was funny because we sat there and his natural voice is very much Rock Lee and Davis. So just hearing him being like, fuck Nimoy, this and that.
Fuck Jeff Nimoy.
It was great. Yeah, no, it was great. It was.
And I threw a little things like, "Oh, look what the cat from Trigun dragged in." I threw him a little Easter eggs in there, and he goes, "Hello, Kitty," another little anime nod.
I love.
It was really fun. Like those little those little things that you pick up on.
Like the part where him and where Sada, right? The part where him and Donovan are arguing at the panel. That was pretty funny. It was like, I'm only as good as the actors I have to work with, and he's just like, what? Like
as good as the writer,
and this was a funny one. So Sound Out kept asking me. He was like, is Nikki Boyer just some random person? I'm like, no, she's like a TV host or actress. I had to double check myself. Yes. Like he didn't not know who she was. So
and also she was also at that same voice agency that Brian and myself were at, and I had directed her in something else also. So I knew her.
Because we were wondering how she got there, because I was like, Sound Out, she hosts TV shows and produces, but we were like, how does she get in with these voice actors pretending to be because we know that she had to be a stand-in for somebody because of just certain lines in your script made it seem like, I guess, the person you wanted turned you down to play Nikki.
Yes. And I mean, a lot of people turn me down, but every time I gave an actress a script, it was tailored for her.
Okay.
So I had like Nikki's from St. Louis, so her script had her from being from St. Louis. You know, when I gave it to another actress, it was from where she was from. You know what I mean?
Okay, because
I was turned down. I was turned down. That was the hardest part to cast. I just couldn't get a voice actress that did anime to take that part. So I'm like, well, I'm going to go outside of anime. I can't cast it with that. I got to cast it with actors who just happen to be voice actors, and and Nikki and I knew each other from. I directed her in promo for ABC Family. She used to do Sunday Fun Day promos, and I said, we were having coffee. I'm like, you're perfect for this role, and I said, you're not an anime actress, so to speak, and you never really did animation, but still, you're perfect for the role, And I'm lucky she said yes.
Yeah, because the thing that we started picking up on, that there had to have been another person you were possibly hoping for, was when there were certain lines in there where it was like the infamous part where Brian goes, hey, your character in Naruto. So we're like, wait, was it someone from Naruto he originally wanted in this? Because me and Sound picked up on some clues.
Again, I had to make that up. Obviously
Okay.
Her character does not exist in Naruto.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I heard the name and I was like, I just finished watching 720 episodes of Naruto in the last couple years. That's definitely not a character.
It's a fictional character that does not exist in the real Naruto. Again, the normal fan who doesn't know anything about anime won't know that at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Or even the fan that doesn't know anything about Naruto.
Right. Or what Naruto even is, for that matter. But again, I was down to it. Like I was having panic attacks over that character because I could not cast it. Even when I went to LA actors who just, like I said, who just happened to be cast in anime, weren't necessarily anime fans. They were turning me down because they didn't want to be on camera. I'm not an on-camera person. That's why I'm a voiceover actor, A lot of people were saying that. A lot of people were saying the role's too big. I'm afraid I'll let you down. It's too big a role. It's a lead, And Nikki's not afraid of that because Nikki had played leads before, I just think Nikki, I couldn't have found anyone better than Nikki, even if I tried. If anyone that I had offered it to before said yes, it wouldn't have been as good as Nikki. I know it. She was perfect. And she radiates on camera. Like she glows on camera. When you say you have that it factor, the camera loves you. The camera loves Nikki Boyer.
Yeah,
good.
definitely.
We're going to have to send her this part of the interview just to be like, all right, this is why you should cast Nikki Boyer. This guy, the Spielberg of Anime says cast her. You got to do it.
I'm lucky.
Emmy-winning Spielberg of Anime.
Yes, the Emmy-winning Spielberg of Anime. He just won the Emmy somewhere else.
I'm the lucky one, not her. I'm the lucky one.
All right, side out.
All right, so we talked about heartfelt moments before. In the film, towards the end of the film, there's a really heartfelt moment between the character of Jeff Nimoy and a fan who is discussing his deceased mother. Is that directly inspired by true events?
That is an exact true event. The dialogue almost exactly as it happened in real life. In terms of him bringing that picture, and that picture is the actual woman that the fan gave me. The actual fan gave me a picture of his mother, the one I used in the movie. I have it in my desk in my bedroom. And he said almost verbatim those words of, we watched Trigun together, to cheer her up during chemo and all this. She wanted to be here so bad, she couldn't make it and all this stuff. And, that actor is a local hire that, because I have an improv background, I reached out to a local improv group in Madison, Wisconsin, where we filmed. And I auditioned people over Zoom, and he auditioned for that role. And pretty much what he did in the movie was what he did in the audition. And I started crying during the audition, acting with him. And I said, buddy, you just do that, in the movie, we're good to go. That's because it's the climactic scene of the movie, and he brought it. He plays an anime fan on the spectrum, because there are quite a few anime fans who are autistic and on the spectrum and all versions of the spectrum, So I wanted them represented as well, There were anyway, and the extras, they just were, because it's anime and it was a convention. So, but I wanted a particular, and he had a family member who was autistic, so he was pretty much doing an impersonation of that family member. Other people who played that I cast out of that group was the guy in the elevator at the very beginning who cosplays as Naruto. Took 8 takes for him to say the word Naruto. He kept screwing up Naruto. Naruto. He just kept screwing it up. The 2 guys, when Brian gets coffee on him and he's trying to get out, but they want a picture with him. They go, no, now me. He's like, okay, that guy. They were from that group. Those guys were great.
Yeah,
but that guy especially, Joe Mallow.
Yeah, no, we were wondering about that.
Sorry. He wrote me recently for some crowdfunding thing he was doing. He said, I don't know if you remember me. I'm like, Joe, don't worry, I'll never forget you.
That's really cool. That's really cool, because when we saw that scene, we know about moments like that happened 100% at conventions. There's always people. Now this is a question building off of that. Are you ever surprised when people, whether they are on the spectrum, off the spectrum, have a disability? Are you always surprised when like they come with their actual parents who end up getting into it at an older age? Like, does that also like do something like do you find that really endearing when like people that are able to get into it?
There was one kid he was more than autistic. He was definitely challenged, and he was a fan of a show called Beautiful Joe. Now, I was not the voice of Beautiful Joe. A guy named Jason Palmer was. But Jason Palmer and I sound exactly alike sometimes. And he was just, Beautiful Joe, and his mother was with him. And it was my very first convention. I said to him, I'm sorry, I'm not Beautiful Joe. And the confusion, he couldn't process what I was saying to him, because IMDb said I'm Beautiful Joe, and there was no reason for him to think otherwise, that he's me. He waited his whole life for this convention to meet Beautiful Joe. And I looked at his mother, who had just like, oh no, please don't disappoint my son. And I went, you know what? I am Beautiful Joe. And I signed everything Beautiful Joe. I told his mother afterwards the truth, But yeah, it's just fantastic. And the fact that this guy, this real life guy in Orlando, who handed me that picture of his mother, who brought me a gift of his mother because his mother couldn't make it, I keep that stuff, you know what I mean? I didn't take it for granted. Like the asshole character, Jeff Nimoy, was like, thanks, I'll treasure it, like sarcastically. And then when he explains what it means, then Jeff, with tears in his eyes, says, I'll treasure it. He means it, and I have it, Not only do I have it, I used it in the movie. I kept it all these years, whether I was making a movie or not. I kept it, And these things do mean things to you. There was one story, I blog about it, where I was in Chicago, and some kid and his buddy were sitting outside the convention, and they just looked so down. And I met a friend for dinner from Chicago who wanted to see the madness of a convention. And he was just sort of teasing this kid by saying, hey, ever hear of Digimon? Like, my buddy's Mr. Digimon, right? And he's like, hey, ever hear of Digimon? And this kid said, he's about 14 years old, 15 years old. He goes, have I ever heard of Digimon? My 8th birthday, we were going to have a Digimon movie party. It happened October 20th when the movie comes out. And my mother and father were taking me and my 10 friends to the movies to see the premiere of Digimon the movie, my favorite TV show. And I woke up that morning all excited. It was my birthday, 8th birthday, and I was going to see it. And I opened the window to look outside, and there's an ambulance in the driveway taking my father away. He died in the middle of the night. And I'm like, kid, this is, you ran into the right person for this story. And I brought him in, got him a free pass, got him all kinds of swag. Oh, the reason he was sitting outside dejected was, he couldn't get in. He didn't have the money to get in.
Oh.
He traveled all that way to Rosemont, Illinois, and couldn't get in. He didn't have the money. God, you ran into the right guy to tell the story. And I brought him in, got him all hooked up, swag, passes for the whole weekend, you know what I mean? And then, it was just like, these things affect us. We, actors, directors, writers, we sit in this dark room, no windows, recording booth, soundproof. And we're not thinking someone's watching this on TV. We're just trying to make the best TV show we can, or movie. And then later on, years later, sometimes you meet these people at a convention and you realize you had meaning in their life. And in Famish, my character is so down on himself. He feels so worthless. And it takes this autistic kid to say, worthless? You're the most important thing in the world to me. How could you be worthless? You're everything to me, right? And that makes him think. It gives him worth, I'm going to cry talking about it.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense because, I've been to at least 3 conventions where someone tells the story during a panel, or you're waiting online and the person in front of you and the actor's crying, and then you're the guy right behind them, and you're just like, get a hold of yourself for 5 seconds because everyone's forcing me now to rush me out. I remember I've had one of those stories.
Question is, did you ever fart in the booth?
Yeah,
You're how do I pivot off of that? That was too
I think one of my favorites was the time I was sitting there and someone told a story like that, and the actor just starts crying, and their handler's trying to rush everybody. Because now they've been there too long. And I get up there and I'm trying to network with them, and their handler's just being an uber dick to me. And that they're crying because of this sad story. And they look over at their handler and they're like, could you please just hold yourself? This is my fault. Don't be a dick. They had to put their handler in their own place, which is supposed to be their manager telling them, move it along. We got more money to make. Come on. It was just the weirdest story I've ever had, where it's just this one actress is just sobbing because I couldn't hear the story. I just assumed it was how you said about the kid who was my dad died that day, for his party. But it's it was just crazy because you'll just see actors tearing up, or other actors, and it's wild because for me, I gotta say, what influenced me is, ironically enough, a lot of just the Saban stuff in general. So you have Digimon, you have him adapting Super Sentai into Power Rangers, you have other stuff that came out around that time, because I'm mostly into tokusatsu, which is, kaiju, Godzilla, heroes, but then anime got tacked onto that because it's from Japan. So whenever I'm meeting people, I'm just I wanted to do this, but then I found out that acting in general, or making in general, is not really handicap accessible to a degree. So I just was I'm gonna go into journalism and I guess what you'd call it historian or kind of thing, where it's just I'll just talk about this stuff, or I'll just cover this stuff, whether it be journalistic or just as a medium of saying, hey, this is a historian kind of fan thing, until I can maybe find a way in, because it's too difficult. They want you to move to California. They want you to do this.
That's another thing about the movie. I say, move to where the work is. And that's actually something I said to, oh boy, I wish I could remember her name now. Erica. Oh, I'm terrible. Oh, I'm so bad. Sorry.
What's killing her name right here?
Erica
Mendez?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, no. Because she was one of your backers. She was one of your backers, I think, on the...
But when Erica Mendez was 18, when she was 18, she was at one of my first conventions in Chicago, that same convention, as a matter of fact. And she asked the question, what if you want starting out, where do you do? And I said, just like I said in the movie Famish, move to where the work is. And she took my advice, and Later on, I did conventions with Erica Mendez, you know? It's because I told her move to where the work is. And then I gave that story, Erica Mendez's story, to the Nikki Boyer character.
Yeah, it's good. It's kind of like the way that the entertainment industry is. Yeah, it's like there's these hubs of places there are, and if you're not in a hub, you're
I would say
kind of
now
stuck.
move to Texas because that's where all the work is. We lost it all this year to Texas. We're not doing anything right now in LA, which is why I might have to go back to bartending soon. I don't know.
Yeah, I imagine there's been a lot of shift in
from 93 to now.
Yeah, there's been a lot of shift in the industry in the last couple of years.
And that's tough. It's been tough in LA. We've had a tough year.
Especially with the anime industry in particular, with the how consolidated it's become with everything getting put into Crunchyroll, and then now it's like.
Well, I was working for Crunchyroll
different.
for the last 3 years. I was doing some of their biggest, if not their biggest, titles. Jujutsu Kaisen. I was adapting the series and the movie. Bungo Stray Dogs. I was adapting the series. A bunch of others for the last 3 years, like I said. And all of a sudden this year, it all moved to Texas. So I don't know what actors they're using.
Yeah.
But all the actors live in LA because that's where we were doing it for 3 years. I don't know what's going on now. So
it's been interesting seeing it from our side of it as like fans and consumers of stuff. I've noticed there's been like a notable shift in how things have been done. Like I'm a big Blu-ray collector, and I'm just like, even in that field, like it's just stuff has shifted for sure. Like I can tell that it's not quite working the way it used to.
It's just that, but you know, we're working professionals. You know, myself and Lex Lang is one of the stars of Jujutsu Kaisen, and you know, we're like hoping it comes back, and because it's not just a big part of our lives, it's a big part of our livelihood. You know, so it could be bad. It could be bad if everything moves to Texas for good. You know, I don't know what's going to happen.
Here's a question I have also about the industry. So you've done stuff for Crunchyroll, you've done stuff for Viz. I've heard though when you're dubbing for Netflix, it's kind of I don't know how true it is, but it's like things I've heard on the internet. Dubbing for Netflix is kind of a shit show. Is that true, or is it not as what the internet makes?
You know what? Well, I've never had a problem.
I just hear that like people have always stated that Netflix doesn't really try to grab people or cast people. They just grab whoever's available. They don't really have the direction.
No, that's not true. First of all, Netflix themselves is not hiring anyone except a recording studio like a Studiopolis. And then Studiopolis uses their people, like myself, Ryan, Susie, and, you know, all the actors in LA, you know, pretty much. They're not pigeonholed to one or two actors. They've got the run of actors in LA. So it's really, you know, and if Bang Zoom does something for Netflix, then they have their directors, Tony Oliver and so forth, you know. So so it really comes down to the production company itself. It has nothing to do with Netflix. Like I said, Crunchyroll's not hiring anyone. But now that they combined with Funimation, they've got Funimation's people doing that stuff. But again, Netflix, I never got a note from Netflix.
All right. Yeah, because we've
heard movies for them.
Yeah, because we've seen on, obviously, Sound, you can back me up. We've seen on Facebook people saying that, like, they've cast no names. Directors have no direction on how to dub the show.
Yeah, it's mostly that it's the internet rumor stuff that you can't like confirm or deny
unless you talk to somebody. Company are they talking about? Because it's not Netflix themselves.
That's
like
what
Netflix doesn't have like a dubbing.
It's like a blanket statement. It was such a blanket statement that we were like, what's the issue? Because I do know some people got their start in Netflix animes, but I can't point out without scrubbing through the credits to see what studio
series or movie I've done for Studiopolis, which I almost work exclusively for just because I've known them since before they formed, and we were all at Fox Kids Saban together. So we just have a working relationship with each other. We've known each other 40 years at this point, you know. So we never deal with the main company. It's always, even Disney, like when I worked for Disney, you know, Disney had one person supervising it, but they rarely intercede in what you're doing, you know? They know you've been doing it for a long time and they know you're good at it.
All right. And in regards to Netflix, you did the anime Ultraman that came out, the CGI one that's based on the manga.
Again, that was at studio. Like I said, that was at Studiopolis.
Yeah. How much involvement did Subaraya have with you guys, or did you guys mostly deal with Starlight Runner Entertainment?
I wrote the entire first season. I think I did. I think I wrote this entire second season. It's hard to remember. I directed seasons 1 and 2. I know that much. And I never got a note from anyone. I had
free. All right, so there was like, yeah, because it's a pretty good dub. I think you guys did really good with it.
I was really happy with the way that came out. But I heard they did a season 3 without me, and no one calls me to say we're doing it without you. You just find out one day.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a season 3, and I'm not there. You know, you don't get
That's odd. They wouldn't just keep you going with the project.
Well, there's a lot of things going. You know, I am one of the Knockwood top people, so to speak, and you know, I do have standards of what I charge. And season 3, you know, maybe they're like, we've only got 4 episodes. Why bother? You know, getting Jeff Nimoy. Who knows what the story is, but let's save some money. You know what I mean?
And season 3 did come out rather late. I mean, sound out. Remember the whole what's his face? What is he like? Cheat on his wife in Japan, so it had to get delayed in Japan.
Oh yeah, it got delayed because one of the Japanese actors cheated on his wife.
See,
and his wife was one of the most famous singers of all time.
Wasn't it that he didn't just cheat on her? He allegedly there was domestic violence, I think, too, a charge in there.
So yeah.
Was Josh Hutcherson part of season 3? I don't even know.
Yeah, I believe he was.
I don't know.
I'm gonna double check it.
I just know that the Japanese side caused the American side to be delayed due to.
Look, whatever. I'm happy. I got to work on a show that I watched as a kid. You know.
Oh, really? You were an Ultraman fan?
I got full reign on the first 2 seasons. I got to direct Josh Hutcherson, who I'm a big fan of. I got to revisit buddies with Steve Bloom and you know, Matthew Mercer, and there were so many people in that show.
That's crazy because I know a lot of you guys probably had to have known of Ultraman, so it's just funny that you're like, yeah, I saw it as a kid.
And Roger Craig Smith joined the cast in season 2, which he's one of my favorite all-time guys. Roger Craig Smith, Captain America.
That's crazy.
So yeah, and I was just looking up the cast, and I was like, I forgot how many people were in this.
I know.
Wasn't Fred Tatasciore? I got to work.
Yeah.
I had to work with Fred since like Zatch Bell. Fred's one of my favorite guys. I love those guys. You know, we all love working together. So, and Colleen, I brought Colleen in, and then Michael Sorich and I got to do Walla for the second season. You hear me die like 4 times over 8 episodes.
No, that's funny. That's great because. Yeah, I was like, we got to ask at least an Ultraman question since we have a good rapport with Ultraman people.
Yeah, I'm sad I didn't get to work on the 3rd season or even know it existed, but you can't complain.
Yeah, 3rd season came out in May of 2023.
All right. So you're saying there's still a chance?
Saying there's still a chance. Yeah, I was trying to see if I could find like production credits, but I can't find production credits.
That's all right.
Yeah.
When you look on, Netflix, they'll show it at the very end. They stick on the English dub credits at the very end.
Here's all the Japanese credits, and then here's the English credits, and then here's the Hindi credits. German, yeah.
I kind of hate that format of how they have to do it, because I kind of like, this is the thing I liked about Viz and Funimation, was like, they were able to like put all of it in there, so you had your sub and your dub cast in there, so you didn't have to be like, black screen, no audio. Black screen, no audio.
The most fun is when you're on a box. Like when you get like the Digimon the movie and my name's on a box. That's nice, you know?
Yeah. it's nice to see it in print, right?
It's nice to see it in print. You can't take it off. It's like, all right, now it's not just a rumor. Now it's a fact.
Yeah.
I mean, we sort of get that too when like we've done reviews for our website from when like the the people are like, oh, you're on our press release. Here's this comic book. And then in the comic book, it'll be like the writer, Brian Benjamin of HeroClub.com said, this book was more phenomenal, blah, 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 blah. Every Power Ranger fan should read this comic book. You know,
I'll put you guys on Famous 2 on the Wrath of Khan, C-O-N.
Wrath of Khan.
I actually have an idea for it, and I pitched William Shatner, but he's not into it right now. He wants to wait and see me write it. And I'm not going to write it until the first movie does some kind of business, you know. Yeah. I took it to Comic-Con in San Diego. The first one they did after the pandemic was finally over. They canceled 2 of them. They canceled 2020 and 21. So 2022, I brought Famous there, and no one showed up. And then I brought it to Anime Expo, and again, no one showed up. And I'm like, I guess there's just too much to do at a con for people to want to sit there for 2 hours and watch a movie, even though we were doing a Q&A after, you know? And I thought all along that my best bet was to show this at a con. I figured I'd have audiences around the block, but it's not really doing so. I've taken a break after Comic-Con. I took a break from doing cons. I got to figure out something about why they're not coming to watch it at a con.
I wonder if it might be scheduling, because sometimes conventions they'll put all these big things, and then everybody's going to go to the big thing, and then who's left to go to any smaller panels?
Yeah, because I know that for a fact.
I ask for then? When's the best time, do you think?
I know that mostly when you go to anime cons, if you're at a big one, all the episode premieres are usually Friday night and Saturday.
Yeah.
And so if you would want to put it on either on an open Friday or an open Thursday if they have a 4-day, or the Sunday, it feels like. Because I know
everyone's going home.
Yeah. I know that's the
problem.
If
a convention has a preview night, that could be
there.
Something there that might
a Thursday night.
Like a Thursday night, when they have
no one's doing anything Thursday night, right?
Yeah,
there's nothing going on.
Yeah, because I know G-Fest, which is a Godzilla convention. Obviously, it's not probably for best for you, but I know G-Fest will do you have the dealer's room and you have movies Thursday. You can go in and watch whatever matinees they're putting on of old cuts. Yeah. So if you go to an anime con that's willing to have a preview night and be like, oh, you want to do a movie screening? Yeah. I also think other than that, always try to get the people running the con to get involved with the promotion of because if they're not promoting it, no one's going to even pay attention to it, even in the flyers or the schedules. Because there's so many things that I'll go to a con and they'll be like, for the first time ever, all the main cast of Mobile Suit Gundam from Japan, and we have 4 of the Ocean Group guys.
I wrote a lot of those, by the way.
Yeah, you did the first 3 compilation films, I know. And then Bandai Sunrise is like, we don't want people to see these now.
That was a fun show to work on.
I love watching it because it's so jarring. Because for me, I knew the movies were dubbed. I didn't see them till I was a teenager. So growing up, I'm used to seeing the Ocean Group, the Blue Water people. So Brad Swaley voicing Amuro.
Yeah, Brad.
Then you go and you watch the original dub that you guys put out in 89 or 91, and it's Joe, and you're just like, what's Joe doing in my Amuro? And then
Steve Loomis Char.
Yeah. No, yeah. we so want to just interview Steve Blum one day, just to be like, we need to talk you doing Gundam, but we need you to quote stuff that Char said in later shows with your voice, because there are so outside of
he's accessible. You can write him. He reads everything you write him.
Okay, because I think I tried on Twitter.
Website. He'll read it.
All right, go through the website. Okay, because I've tried on Twitter. I've tried on Twitter a
lot. Tell him you just interviewed me and Tom. He knows us both very well.
Yeah, no, that's funny. I would love to. That would be great. There's it's funny too because Tom.
We'll use you as a reference then.
Exactly, because Tom, when we interviewed Tom was like, "Give me a list of people," and we were like, "A what?" He's like, "Just give me a list," and I'm like, okay. And then I had the list, and 2 weeks later, I'm like, "Oh, I forgot your sister and your brother." He's like, they're already on. Don't worry. I'm like, oh, okay. But yeah, no, there's like so many things because like you'd be telling us stuff,
So
and then he tells us stuff.
The guy who plays the convention, the one who runs the convention, Kyle.
Yep.
In my movie, that's
It's
Jonathan.
Yep. No, immediately, like when Tom told us about your movie in the interview, he goes, "My brother plays it. He's a small part." The first few times, when I was watching the video, when I first watched the movie a couple of times early on, it didn't dawn on me. Like I told you in one of the letters, I've been watching it in small parts while I'm eating breakfast, and it didn't dawn on me. I go and rewatch it with sound out, and I'm like, oh, that's Jonathan right there, because Jonathan's photo is not on like IMDb or anything. It's just a blank. So as soon as I saw Tom's features in his face, I was like, that's John.
So he plays that character. He also plays the mask guy who pays in change. That guy, right?
Oh yeah.
And that's what I said to sound. I said that has to be John again.
Yeah, that's our little tribute to Harpo Marx, because the Fahns and we're all fans of the Marx Brothers. Again, Easter eggs everywhere. I figured if this is the only movie I ever make, I want to put a little tribute to every one of my heroes. You know, I have little Easter eggs to everybody in there.
You know, it's actually really good. Like I when I was watching it in segments right before, like during breakfast hours, when it's usually me settling in for the day because I go to sleep during the day, I was like, man, it's hard to watch like the early part. I was having trouble watching it at that hour because I'm already tired. But then watching it with sound out, like fully in one go, I was like, yeah, this is like really good. Like watching it like.
Thank you, but I'll tell you, never tell a filmmaker I watch it in little parts, because it's not made that way.
It's made to be watched in one go.
90 minutes. You have 93 minutes out of your life. Sit down for 93 minutes. Turn the lights out and watch it. Make some popcorn. You know, that's what.
Because when I was watching,
it's definitely something I always advocate for is like watching movies at the right time of day.
Yeah,
it's like you just watch them like at certain things or passively. It's not as impactful as like you sit down. Like I always watch movies at night. Like I never watch them during the daytime because I feel like I want the movie, like I want the pseudo movie theater experience, and I can't get that with all the sunshine in the desert I live in. So it's just like it's got to be at night for me to watch a movie.
I chose it at a bad time because it was over the holiday season. So I was like, my mom's like, I need you to do this and get these gifts wrapped. I need you to do this, and I'm just like, I also have to do interviews, Mom. And she's like, but you're not getting paid for it, so you have to do this while you're living in my house. And I'm like,
I really hate when they say, I watched the first 15 minutes. I just have to find time to watch the rest. I'm like, come on, And over the pandemic, when people were like, I haven't watched it, I'm like, yeah, I'm really busy during the pandemic too. I get it, Like, I'm busy disinfecting.
Yeah. Yeah, so we had a great time watching it together, and
thanks, I appreciate it.
Such a blast. It was a great movie.
I want a sequel though. I want a sequel where
like I said, I had
you and Brian
Shatner. We go to another con, and William Shatner is the star of that con, and it's called Wrath of Khan, C-O-N. And Nikki Boyer, it turned out, was William Shatner's ex. I'm like, is there anyone on the con you haven't fucked? What the fuck? What? What are you, the con pimp? The pump? What the fuck? So, and then, Shatner, and I said, I know you're 90-something. I'm going to have you, in a wheelchair the whole time because your leg is broken. And I'm going to have George Takei, wheel you around like Sulu. And you keep calling him Sulu. And he's like, oh, screw you, Bill. You know my name is George. He's like, Sulu, hard stern. Oh, fuck yourself, George. Bill, I was going to have all that. And, but, I have to write it. And again, I'm so non-motivated to write it for free. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I poured my heart into it the first time because I'm like, I wanted to make my movie and I made it and I made it well. And now I'm like, let someone pay me to make the sequel.
I get that because
I feel you on that. I did like a 31-day video series as like a tribute to the Universal Monster movies. And I did makeup and costumes and set design. And then like every video got less than like 200 views. And I was like,
it's so disappointing.
What did I just do?
That's so disappointing. Like I did all that. You must be a fan of Svengoolie then on Saturday nights.
I have Svengoolie and Bayer. He doesn't.
Yes.
I love Svengoolie.
Yeah.
I love the Universal monster movies too.
Mhm.
Love them.
Yeah, no,
I used to collect the cards when I was a kid too.
Oh yeah.
my,
Yeah, no,
my-
I have so much Universal Monsters merch. I was like, I'm gonna make an entire month out of it. It'll be daily videos, and
I
then
used
it
to
just
get the model. I used to paint the models. You know,
my
build
dad.
them.
oh yeah.
I inherited the models and the original print of Monster magazine from my father.
Yeah,
like he's still alive, but like he was like, here, put this in your room, and I'm like, why? He's like, they are yours now. You're still alive. Just put them in your room, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, my mom gave me like 3 or 4 behind the scenes books on those movies that she had. She's like, oh yeah, here, you love this. Take
And
this.
the Fawns and I are also really into Abbott and Costello, who also are Universal. So,
you know, when I was talking with Tom and when I was talking to him in email, Tom's just like, how old are you and why do you fit in with me? And I'm just like, oh boy. Like I get told a lot that I'm from your generation when I was born in the 90s.
He's straight out of 1942, Tom. You know.
Yeah.
No, my dad, who was born in 1952, raised me like that. So like, I'll be like, oh yeah, I love A Night at the Opera. I love.
Tom's still watching it on VHS. He's still watching it on Victrola on Nickelodeon. Hey Jeff, come look at this.
You know, it's true. I'd be like that too. I'll be like, oh, well, I have this on VHS. I don't need the Blu-ray yet. The VHS is on fire. Yeah, okay, I need the Blu-ray.
I have a a VHS player somewhere. I just don't know where.
I have at least 2 on backup, but I don't use them. I'm like a full Blu-ray 4K guy. It's like I'm like stingy, so it's like if the 4K transfer is bad, I'll just stick to the Blu-ray or the DVD, whichever was the best.
I'm so lazy now. It's like streaming or nothing for me right now.
Yeah.
You know?
I get like that too. It's bad.
I watch mostly on stream. It's funny. I have all these physical discs, but like most times I'm just like, well, it's also just at a click of a button. It's like, but I got it as a backup.
My favorite was when the Digimon movie discs were announced. They're like, it's like $20, and I'm like, but sound out. I already have the original VHS. I have the DVD. I have the Japanese versions, fan sub. So it's like, it's $20. I'm like, all right.
And I have the CD of the soundtrack, although I don't have a CD player to play it on.
Yeah. I bought like a cheap disc drive for my computer just to rip CDs to the digital copy.
Well, guys, it's Uncle Jeffrey's bedtime.
Yep.
We ran out of questions. We were just vamping.
We did. We were just like, oh, we're just talking now. We're just shooting the shit. We're just, fun time.
We had so much fun watching Famous, though.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
It's great.
It's great to be interviewed by someone who watched it. You know, I hate to be like, that's why I say that's the one thing. I'm not going to do the interview unless you watch the movie, because people are like, tell me about Famous. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I'm like, oh, you.
My favorite part though was before you even responded back that you would do the interview. Tom was like, "Hey, you guys should check this out." And after we were done with the interview, me and Silent looked at each other like, "We're gonna have to watch this movie before Jeff even signs on, aren't we?" and like me and Silent were just like, "We better start watching it or something." And like,
I was like, "This is our prep work for the interview."
But it's okay. It's not like a punishment. It's not homework.
No,
it's a good movie.
There have been times though where I've had people do that to me where I have to know something, but the thing they want to promote has nothing to do with like the source. So like we once had a person go, "Oh, I'll do this if you promote this," but it was like completely like obscure indie where it was like I need to do a slice of life thing where it's like I'm going back home and dealing and it has nothing to do with like how yours is meta. The people were like, I want something so gritty, like it's like Remember the Titans or something. We're like, that's not what we do here, though.
Name one movie about suicide that's more fun than Famous. Come on, it's the most fun movie about suicide of all time.
Oh, I think so. I'm not coming up with any others. Usually when people talk about suicide, it's heavy and serious.
Well, this is and there are some serious moments. In this. There are 2 or 3, but that's my style. My style is to take the most really serious subjects and talking about them in a very commercial, comedic way. Like Arthur, for instance, is about this terrible alcoholic, but it's the funniest movie you'll ever see, and that was a big influence for me for this movie as well.
All right. No, that makes sense because I've seen that movie as well, and it's pretty good. I like it. Yeah. The remake was
Well, let's not
split hairs on remakes today. That's a different podcast.
Exactly. But no, it's great that you're with us. People, like we said, Famous is available. You can buy it, you can rent it, you can go on Tubi, watch it for free.
And Roku, it's for free on Roku
Yep.
as well.
Roku
with
as well.
limited commercial interruption.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's a very fun time. You gotta if anyone is out there watching and has ever been to a convention, like even if you don't know anime, it fits for conventions.
It really does. Like
Yeah.
it really does. People, you should watch it. Like if you want to see Jeff Nimoy curse more, watch it. If you want to see Brian Donovan curse more, watch it. If you want to see Lex Lang get mad at Jeff Nimoy, watch it. I think that's about it, right? Like I think we nailed everything on the head there.
You know, pretty women, funny jokes, a little crying here and there. It's got it all. It's got everything.
Exactly. It's got
all the
all
the elements of life.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, now you're not that much on social media, but you do have your website, the Stu Productions or Stu.
Yeah, I'm on
TV.
Instagram mostly to show what I ate for dinner last night, you know, and Facebook I'm not really on anymore. I just loaded a bunch of little short things I've done onto TikTok, including the famous trailer, you know, but I'm not really on there. I'm not making new content yet. Who knows what I'll do in the future? I don't know. But I'm just tired of doing things for free. I'm really, you know, I just either want to retire or get paid to do more stuff, you know. It's come to that.
That is completely
And I'm hoping
understandable.
to do more Bungo Stray Dogs and Jujutsu Kaisen. Those are my two favorite animes that I've worked on the last few years. I would love to do more of those, especially Bungo. I really love that show. Are you fans of that at all?
I don't think I've not been recommended it. And that was like, unlike Jujutsu Kaisen, I know more about Jujutsu Kaisen, but I've not heard a lot about.
I particularly like Bungo Stray Dogs better, but you know, Jujutsu Kaisen's the popular one. So
yeah, no,
I'll probably check out Bungo Stray Dogs. I've seen clips of it, and I've been kind of like,
I'll probably check that one out because Jujutsu Kaisen, it's one of those ones where it's like the modern shonen doesn't hook me anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm like kind of tapped out unless it's like we're finally going to adapt an older shonen series that's never been adapted or adapted correctly. And they'll be like, "Here's Bastard," and I'll be like, "Ooh,
what I
I
like
want to see
about
that."
Bungo is part detective series more than just a straight up like you know, I'm gonna cast a spell and you know, magic is gonna eat your face off. It also it's part like mafia versus like police versus like a syndicate. You know, it's really like.
Oh, that sounds like sounds like exactly the kind of show I like. So
I know it reminds me of Kaze no Yojimbo.
In a long time. I'm really excited about it, and I hope it returns to LA for another season.
Hope so too.
It better.
Fingers crossed, and I hope I get to work on it. Just because it returns to LA doesn't mean I get to work on it.
Yeah, no. So like, that's what. So like we said, check out the movie. He doesn't do much on social media, but he is active when he has something going on. And check out the Jujutsu Kaisen if you're already not, and check out Bungo Stray Dogs, right?
Yep. Yeah, there are other shows also that I've worked on, like Science Falls in Love. Is that what Science Fell in Love? Kind of a silly show, but you know, funny. There's stick with me for a second. I'm looking at what I've done recently. To Your Eternity. A lot of people like that show. Yeah, it's all right. Rent a Girlfriend was kind of funny, pretty dirty. Anyway, things like that. The Orbital Children was fun. I don't know if you saw that. That's a Netflix thing.
I don't think I've
heard of it.
Yet.
I've been lucky. I got to work on a lot of good stuff the last 3 years, but it's all gone.
Yeah. Well, hopefully new things are coming up in the future.
Let's hope. Let's hope you guys bring me good luck.
We got to, because just getting you and Tom and Dorothy has already been luck for us. Because whenever whenever we don't have an interview guest, we're just sitting here going, "Man, why does our life suck?" and then we get an interview guest, and we're like, yes.
And hopefully, Tom and I have been talking about like doing a convention together. He and I, sitting and talking at the same panel if I can get a word in. But mostly so I can eat in the same city, because I'm a big foodie and I always find, the best food in whatever city we're in. So look for me coming out of con retirement with Tom Fahn one day, hopefully soon.
Right.
All right,
and,
guys.
and for Hero Club, you know, as per usual, it's hero-club.com. You follow us across social media using Hero Club for Life. And we'll see you all with whoever our next interview guest is, who's most likely probably another Fox Kids alumni. We don't know. We can't confirm or deny.
But thank you for being here, Jeff Nimoy, and everybody have a great day, and we'll see you all next time.
Later, guys.